And we are live. Hello world. This is your boy Rasta Ren. Let me say thanks for all the viewers. Welcome to today's live stream. Again, it's Rasta Ren Reads. Because what we do on this channel is we read books, we deep dive into the dark depths of the truth, and we publish that information. Even though in today's climate, speech, publishing the truth is likely to get you cancelled, debunked, and all that stuff. I'm all about the truth, guys. So I go out, deep dive, find the truth, bring the information back, and then we all read and decipher what we found. So thanks to everyone who support the channel. Rasta Ren _876 on YouTube. Then we have Rasta Ren 876 on Facebook. Rasta Ren _876 on Twitter. Rasta Ren _876 all over the place, guys. So if you want to hear the uncensored truth, because unfortunately in today's day and age, speaking the truth often works against you. So you want to hear the uncensored truth, my unbiased opinion of things like the state of the world today, and etc., etc., then definitely follow me on Rumble, Rasta Ren Uncensored. It's the same Rasta Ren _876, but the channel is called Rasta Ren Uncensored, because that's where I'll be publishing the information that we're not allowed to talk about on the mainstream social media platforms. So thanks for the viewers, thanks for the share, thanks for the likes, thanks for the subs. Guys, we also have a YouTube channel. If you could do me a favor, we're also live on YouTube. So if you could just open another tab on YouTube, find Rasta Ren _876. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the bell icon. Turn on the notifications. Share with somebody else, because it's a young channel, very small channel, and we're trying to build it up to where we can actually reach the masses with the truths that we normally go over each week. So if you're new to the space or the page or the channel, it's Rasta Ren. Going forward, every Sunday we're gonna have our session called Rasta Ren Reads, where we go through different books, different texts, different information. The last 2 times we streamed, I went over a couple of chapters in the book called The Lost Book of Enki. We're gonna continue with that book today. We're gonna try and get through as much of it as possible. We're gonna see if we can go through 3 to 4 chapters of that book today. But before we get into that, guys, I have a ton of comments, ton of responses, people reaching out to me on different topics, different subjects, etc. So first thing I would like to do is, before we get into the reading, let me go ahead and respond to a couple of these comments, guys. These comments have been waiting for approximately a week. So let's dive right in.
We are mass poisoning this generation. Yes. We saw this exploding of neurodevelopmental disorders. So ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, sleep disorders, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, autism, all these diseases that prior to 1989, we never heard of them.
Right.
We didn't know anybody who had them. And then all the autoimmune diseases suddenly exploded that year. Juvenile diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, these exotic diseases like Crohn's disease and lupus. Suddenly everybody, all these kids got these, are sick. And the allergic diseases suddenly appeared. Again in 1989, or in that area, early 90s, peanut allergies. I had 11 siblings, 70 cousins. I didn't know anybody with a food allergy. Why do 5 of my kids have these anaphylactic allergies?
So, the first set of comments I'll be responding to pretty much are the ones on this video. RFK Jr. says we're poisoning this generation with the foods and the medicines. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of. See, we have 52 comments. I think these are things. These things were there, but they didn't know what they were. Blah blah blah. That's not correct, guys. That's totally incorrect. That's not correct. All this changed when the FDA took over the food industry, and when the tobacco companies bought out the food companies and started. RFK is gonna explain it all. So this comment, I'm not even gonna respond to that. What are you doing about it? Eat what you grow what you eat. Eat what you grow what you eat, guys. Pretty simple. Grow what you eat what you grow. Very simple. Let's see. All comments. C translation. Is this video also with the German subtitles? No, there's no German subtitles that I know of for this video. See some more comments here.
Just because you don't like it, baby dad.
Oh. By the way, guys, again, we have thousands of comments to respond to. So it's probably better if I go through these when I get the time to actually type a response to some of these. So let me do. All right.
Why are there EpiPens in every classroom? Why are there albumin?
Let me know in the comments, guys, if the audio is good, if you're hearing me, if you're seeing the screen and everything. It's not my forte, so to speak. I'm kind of like a boomer somewhat when it comes to all this new technology. So it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. So if you're with me, share this video with somebody. I was thinking of responding to the comments on live, but it's gonna be overwhelming from what I see. Unless comments I'd be able to respond to is the one you would put on this video during the live. So with that being said, guys, unfortunately I'm not able to respond to the comments as yet, and the persons that named me in their comments and all that. So guys, a little bit of time and I will get to those comments. Alright, so what I'm gonna do at this point, let me just dive right into our reading session for today. We're picking up at chapter 3, going all the way through chapter 6 of the last book of Enki. Last time we learned that Enki was sent to Earth as somewhat the research commander of a mission that was designed to find gold, because they're trying to save their atmosphere off on another planet called Nibiru. And this planet Nibiru is way out past Pluto. So we're going to pick up at chapter 3, tablet 3, and we're going to try to go through as much of it as possible. It's total of 14 tablets. So just to give you guys a breakdown of what it is. So the last book of Enki is a compilation of the works found on approximately 14 tablets. These were found in Sumeria, ancient Sumer. Zachariah Sitchin, what he did was he compiled the information, canonized the information, and rewrite it into the first person format, or from the first person perspective. Now, this last book of Enki talks about things like the creation of Adam, talks about things like the flood, the epics of Gilgamesh, talks about a lot of things you're gonna see. So if you missed tablets 1 and 2, guys, it's somewhere on the page. If you can't find it, you can I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find it over on the Rasta Ren YouTube page, because I uploaded those. So without further ado, let's dive right into today's reading. So the last book of Enki, tablet 3. Wait a minute, it's tablet 1, tablet 2, tablet 3.
Synopsis of the third tablet. Alelu beams the news to Nibiru, reclaims the kingship. Anu, astounded, puts the issue before the royal council. Enlil, Anu's foremost son, suggests on-site verification. Ea, Anu's firstborn and a son-in-law of Alelu, is chosen instead. Ea ingeniously equips the celestial boat for the journey.
So, if you're wondering what are we talking about here? Alelu, or Alalu, as I like to call him because it sounds a lot like Allah, was the first being from Nibiru to land on the planet Earth. When he landed here, he found that there's gold here. So he sends the message back to Nibiru to let them know, hey, we have gold here. We need to save the atmosphere, yada yada. So we're going to see.
The spaceship, piloted by Anzu, carries 50 heroes. Overcoming perils, the Nibiruans thrill by Earth's sight. Guided by Alelu, they splash down and wade ashore. Eridu, home away from home, is established in 7 days. Extraction of gold from the waters begins. Though the quantity is minuscule, Nibiru demands delivery. Abgal, a pilot, chooses Alelu's spaceship for the trip. Forbidden nuclear weapons are discovered in the spaceship. Ea and Abgal remove the weapons of Terra and hide them. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. To my conditions you must give heed. Those were the words of Alelu. From dark-hued earth to Nibiru they were by the speaker beamed. When the words of Alelu to Anu the king were conveyed, Anu astounded was. Astounded were the counselors, amazed were the sages. Alelu is not dead, they each other ask. Could indeed he or another world be living, they with disbelief were saying?
So basically, once they got the message back on Nibiru, they're like, wait, what? This nigga ain't dead? Is he really on another planet sending us this message that there's gold in all this?
Was he not on the Biru hiding in the chariot to a place of concealment gone? The commanders of chariots were summoned, savants the beamed words considered. The words from the Biru did not come, from beyond the hammered bracelet were they spoken.
And if you're new to the stream, guys, the hammered bracelet is basically the asteroid belt. So they're now saying, hey, the message did not come from anywhere on our planet. It came from somewhere beyond the asteroid belt.
This was their finding. This to Anu the king they reported. Stunned was Anu. The happening he pondered. Let words of acknowledgement to Alelu be sent. To the assembled he was saying. At the place of the celestial chariots the command was given. To Alelu words were spoken. Anu, the king, to you his greetings sends. Of your well-being to learn he is pleased. For your departing from Nibiru there was no reason. Enmity is not in Anu's heart. If gold for salvation you have indeed discovered, let Nibiru be saved. The words of Anu Alelu's chariot did reach. Alelu them quickly answered. If your savior I am to be, your lives to save, convene the princes to assembly, my ancestry declare supreme. Let the commanders make me their leader, bow to my command. Let the council pronounce me king, on the throne Anu to replace. When the words of Alelu on the Biru were heard, great was the consternation. How could Anu be deposed, the counselors asked each other. What if Alelu mischief, not truth, is telling? Where is his asylum? Did gold indeed he find? They summoned the sages of the wise and learned counseling they asked. The oldest of them spoke. I was Alelu's master, he was saying. He had hearkened to teachings of the beginning, of the celestial battle he was learning, of the watery monster Tiamat and her golden veins he knowledge acquired. If indeed beyond the hammered bracelet he had journeyed, on earth the seventh planet is his asylum.
So, after deciphering the message, guys, and where it came from and all that, they determined, hey, wait a minute. This guy was actually trained and all this stuff, so I mean he possibly could be beyond the asteroid belt beaming this message. I mean, like, think about it.
In the assembly a prince spoke up. A son of Anu he was, of the womb of Antu, Anu's spouse. He was the issue. Enlil was his name, lord of the command it meant. Words of caution he was saying. Of conditions Alelu cannot speak. Calamities were his handiwork. By single combat and wrestling he the throne forfeited. If Tiamat's gold he indeed had found, proof of that is needed. Is it for protecting our atmosphere sufficient? How through the hammered bracelet to Nibiru can it be brought? Thus did Enlil the son of Anu speak. Others many questions also ask. Much proof was greatly needed. Many answers are required. All agreed. The words of the assembly to Alelu were conveyed, a response demanded. Alelu the words merit pondered, to transmit his secrets he agreed. Of his journey and its perils in truth he an account gave. Of the tester its crystal innards he removed, from the sampler its crystal heart he took out. Into the speaker he the crystals inserted, all the findings to transmit. Now
So at this point, Alelu is preparing his samples to beam them back, or beam the results back to Nibiru, as proof that, hey, look, I found gold, motherfuckers. You're gonna have to bow to me now. So let's continue.
Now that proof has been delivered, declare me king. Bow to my command, he sternly demanded. The sages were aghast. With weapons of terror, Alelu on the Biru more havoc caused. With weapons of terror, a path through the bracelet he blasted. Once in its circuit Nibiru that region passes, calamities Alelu is amassing. In the council there was much consternation. The kingship to alter was indeed a grave matter. Anu, not by ancestry alone, was king. By fair wrestling the throne he attained. In the assembly of the princes a son of Anu stood up to speak. He was wise in all matters. Among the sages renowned he was. Of the secrets of waters he was a master. Yea, he whose home is water, he was called. Of
EA. If I should pronounce that, I would say yeah. Yeah. Or if you translate that into modern languages using the sounds yeah, you would end up YAH, yeah. I mean, come on, guys. This is Allah and yeah. I mean, think about it. Just my 4 cents, though.
Anu, he was the firstborn. To Damkina, Alelu's daughter, he was espoused. My father by birth is Anu the king. Ea was saying, Alelu by marriage my father is. To bring the two clans into unison was my espousal's intention. Let me be the one in this conflict unity to bring. Let me Anu's emissary to Alelu be. Let me be the one Alelu's discoveries to uphold. Let me in a chariot to earth journey. A path through the bracelet with water, not fire, I shall fashion. On earth, from the waters, let me the precious gold obtain. To Nibiru back it will be sent.
So, yeah, is now suggesting, hey, look, I'm the best guy for the job. I mean, let me go to Earth, confirm his findings, and I'll send all the gold back here. So let's continue.
Let Alelu be king on earth, a verdict of the sages awaiting. If Nibiru it will save, let there be a second wrestling. Who shall Nibiru rule, let it determine. The princes, the counselors, the sages, the commanders heard Ea's words with wonder. Full of wisdom they were, for conflict they solution found. Let it so be, Anu announced. Let Ea journey, let the gold be tested. Alelu a second time I shall then wrestle, let the winner be on Nibiru king. The words of decision to Alelu were conveyed. He pondered them and agreed. Let Ea my son by marriage to earth come. Let gold from the waters be obtained. Let it for salvation on Nibiru be tested. Let a second wrestling kingship by me or Anu settle. So be it. Anu in the assembly decreed. Enlil rose in objection. The king's words unalterable was.
So, just to bring it back, at this point, Anu, who was the king of Nibiru, right? He and Alelu had a wrestling match, right? And Anu had beat Alelu, which is why Alelu migrated Nibiru, came to Earth in search for the gold, because that is how he planned on redeeming himself, because he lost that wrestling match. So now Anu is saying, hey, look, if we need to have another wrestling match on Earth, I'll go wrestle that motherfucker, because we need the gold to save our planet. Let's continue.
Ea to the place of the chariots went. Commanders and sages he consulted. The mission's dangers he contemplated. How to extract and bring the gold he considered. Alelu's transmission he carefully studied. Alelu for more testings the results he requested.
And we have 8 viewers, guys. Go ahead and like the video, share the video, drop a comment, let me know where you're watching from. You know what I mean? Remember to follow. Find me on YouTube, guys. Rasta Ren _876. Go ahead and hit the like button, hit the follow button, subscribe. Help us get the word out there, guys, because this information, when we get to the meat of the matter, you're going to realize that it's actually speaking to the stories in the Bible. Okay? As soon as we get past the whole prior times story of how they came to Earth, then we're going to get into the meat of the matter. We're going to find there actually are all the Bible stories that we are familiar with.
A tablet of destinies for the mission he was fashioning. If water be the force, where could it be replenished? Where on the chariot will it be stored? How to force will it be converted? A full circuit of Nibiru did pass in contemplations, a shar of Nibiru in preparations past.
So a year passed on Nibiru while they're thinking about how to build a device, how to build a spaceship that's run on water.
The largest celestial chariot for the mission has been fitted. Its circuit's destiny has been calculated. A tablet of destiny has been firmly fixed. 50 heroes will for the mission be required to journey to Earth, the goal to obtain.
And a tablet of destiny, guys, is a lot like what we call today a GPS navigation system.
To the journey Anu his approval gave. The stargazers for the journey the right time to begin then selected. At the place of the chariots multitudes gathered. To bid farewell to the heroes and their leader did they come. Bearing eagles' helmets, carrying each a fish's suit, the heroes the chariot one by one entered. The last to embark was Ea. To the gathering he bade farewell. Before his father Anu he knelt down, the king's blessing to receive. My son, the firstborn, a far journey you have undertaken for us all to be endangered. Let your success calamity from Nibiru banish. Go and in safety come back. So did Anu to his son speak a blessing, bidding him farewell.
So, Ea, or Ea, is Anu's son, like his direct bloodline. Alalu was kind of like Anu's brother. So Ea is going to Earth to meet with his uncle Alalu to confirm Alalu's findings, make sure there's gold and all that.
The mother of Ea, the one called Ninul, to her heart embraced him. Why, after Anu as a son to me you were given, did he with a restless heart you endow? Go and come back, the hazardous road transfers safely to him, she said. With tenderness Ea kissed his spouse. Damkina he without words embraced. Enlil with his half-brother locked arms. Be blessed, be successful, to him he said. With heavy heart Ea the chariot entered to soar up the command he gave. Now this is the account of the journey to the seventh planet, and how the legend of the fish god who came from the waters was begun.
Bricks. As it says, now this is the account of how the journey to the seventh planet. Now this is the account of this journey to the seventh planet, and how the legend of the fish god who came from the waters was begun. Now, if you're anything familiar with mythology, you will know that in one of the creation stories, it is said that the gods splashed down in the waters and came out of the waters either dressed like fish or donning fish suits. Okay, so this is the story of how it came to be.
With heavy heart Ea the chariot entered to soar up the command he gave. The commander's seat by Anzu, not by Ea, was occupied. Anzu, not Ea, was the chariot's commander. He who knows the heavens, his name's meaning was, for the task he was especially selected. A prince among the princes he was, of royal seed his ancestry he counted. The celestial chariot he deftly guided. From Nibiru it powerfully soared toward the distant sun he it directed. 10 leagues, 100 leagues the chariot was coursing. 1,000 leagues the chariot was journeying. Little Gaga came out to greet them. A welcome to the heroes it was extending. To blue-hued onto the beautiful enchantress it showed the way. By her sight Anzu was attracted. Let us examine her waters, Anzu was saying.
Little Gaga came out to meet them. Little Gaga, my friend, is Pluto. Okay? And the blue-hued Antu, which planet in our solar system is blue-hued? Think about it. Neptune, right?
Ea, to continue without stopping, gave the word. It is a planet of no return, he forcefully said. Toward the heavenly On, the third in planetary counts, the chariot continued.
So, counting inwards from out. Pluto, Neptune, and would be Uranus or Uranus. Let's call it that. We're not gonna say Uranus. I'm not saying Uranus, okay? I'm saying Uranus. Or Uranus. So the planet Little Gaga is Pluto, Antu Neptune, Uranus or Uranus, and it's going to continue telling you the rest of the planets. Anshar, Kishar, and all of them.
On his side was On lying. His host of moons about him were whirling. The tester's beams the presence of water was revealing. A stop if needed to Ea it was indicating. To continue the journey was Ea saying, toward Anshar, the heaven's foremost prince, he was directing.
Alright. Saturn, Anshar.
Soon the ensnaring pool of Anshar they could tell, his colored rings with fear they admired.
Saturn, Anshar, colored rings. Saturn, Anshar, colored rings. Saturn, Anshar. Let's go.
Deftly did Anzu the chariot guide, the crushing dangers he cleverly avoided. The giant Kishar, foremost of firm planets, was next to be encountered.
The giant Kishar, that's Jupiter. Okay? Jupiter, one of the biggest planets in our solar system.
Her net's pool was overpowering. With great skill did Anzu the chariot's course divert. With fury, Kishar at the chariot divine lightnings was thrusting. Her host at the uninvited she directed. Slowly, Kishar moved away for the chariot the next enemy to encounter. Beyond the fifth planet, the hammered bracelet was lurking.
Okay. So, let's do this. Let's pull up a copy of the solar system. Images. Let's see which one. Wikimedia. Let's pull this one up. Come on. Good. Here's one. Alright. So let's compare. Jupiter, Little Gaga. Okay. Sorry, Pluto, Little Gaga. All the way out. Neptune with blue hued. Uranus. Okay. Let's go back. Little Gaga. Onto. Let's go back. Little Gaga. Onto. Anshar. Kishar. And this is where the hammered bracelet would be. Okay. After Jupiter comes the asteroid belt. This is where the hammered bracelet would be. Okay. Let's continue.
Ea, his handiwork to set a wearing command, the water thruster to prepare. Toward the host of turning boulders the chariot was rushing, each one like a slingshot stone ferociously at the chariot aimed. The word by Ea was given. With the force of 1,000 heroes the stream of water was thrust. One by one the boulders turned face, a path for the chariot they were making.
So he's talking about them firing some kind of water beam at the asteroids to clear path so they can make way to Earth, or make way beyond the hammered bracelet / asteroid belt.
But as one boulder fled, another in its stead was attacking. A multitude beyond count was their number, a host for the splitting of Tiamat, revenge seeking. Again and again Ea the commands gave, the water thruster to keep a wearing. Again and again toward the host of boulders streams of water were directed. Again and again the boulders their faces turned, a path for the chariot making. And then at last the path was clear. Unharmed the chariot could continue. A cry of joy the heroes sounded, double was the joy as the sight of the sun was now unveiled.
So now they came beyond the asteroid belt. They're inside the inside the asteroid belt, where you would find the 4 rocky planets. So they're rejoicing like, yo, we made it. You know what I mean?
Amidst the elation Anzu, the alarm sounded. For the path to have fashioned, excessive waters were consumed. Waters to feed the chariot's fiery stones for the remaining journey were not sufficient. In the dark deepness, the sixth planet they could see, the sun's rays it was reflecting. There is water on Lemieux, Eel was saying. Can you bring the chariot down upon it, Anzu, he was asking.
So Lamu, or Lemieux, would be Mars. I mean, you just came through the hammered bracelet, the asteroid belt. The first planet you encounter coming in is Mars. And they're saying, yo, there's water. Let's land and refuel our water.
Deftly Anzu the chariot toward Lemieux directed. Reaching the celestial god around it, he, the chariot, made circle. The planet's net is not great, its pull is to handle easy, Anzu was saying. A sight to behold was Lemieux. Many-hued it was. Snow white was its caps, snow white were its sandals. Reddish-hued was its middle. In its midst, lakes and rivers were aglitter.
So, Mars had snow at the top, North Pole, snow at the bottom, South Pole, reddish brown in the middle, right, with lakes and streams glittering. So there was actual liquid water on Mars at this time.
Deftly as Anzu the chariot made travel slower, by a lakeside it gently came down. Ea and Anzu, their eagle helmets donned, to the firm ground they stepped down.
Eagle helmets, guys, is pretty much like a spacesuit. You know, you got to make sure that the atmosphere is breathable before you unmask and all that shit. So the eagle's helmet is like the mask.
On command, the heroes that which water sucks extended, the chariot bows with the lake's waters to fill. While the chariot was getting its fill of waters, Ea and Anzu with the whereabouts examined. With tester and sampler, all that matters, they ascertained. The waters were good for drinking, the air was insufficient. All was in the chariot's annals recorded, the need for the detour described.
So, they documented the fact that they stopped over on Mars. There was drinkable water, but the air was not breathable.
With its vigor replenished, the chariot soared up to benevolent Lemieux farewell bidding. Beyond the seventh planet was making its circuit. Earth and its companion, the chariot, were inviting. In the commander's seat, Anzu was without words. Ea, too, was silent. Ahead was their destination, its goal Nibiru's fate for salvation or doom containing.
So now they're at the point where they're seeing, hey, there's Earth, we're about to land, and everybody's getting anxious.
The chariot must be slowed, or in Earth's thick atmosphere it shall perish, Anzu to Ea declared. Around Earth's companion, the moon, make slowing circles, Ea to him suggested. They circled the moon. By the vanquishing Nibiru in the celestial battle, its prostrate and scarred was lying. Having the chariot thus slowed down toward the seventh planet, Anzu the chariot directed. Once, twice, the Earth's globe he made the chariot circle. Ever closer to the firm land he lowered it. Snow-hued was 2/3 of the planet, dark-hued was its middle.
So this guy orbiting the planet once, twice, you know, getting closer and closer into landing each time. And they're observing that it's snow-hued at the top, snow-hued at the bottom, North and South Pole, and there's land in the middle.
They could see the oceans, they could see the firm lands. For the signal beacon from Alelu they were searching. Where an ocean touched dry land, where 4 rivers were swallowed by marshes, Alelu's signal was beaconed. Too heavy and large the chariot is for the marshes, Anzu was declaring. The earth's pulling net too powerful for on dry land to descend it is, Anzu to Ea announced. Splash down in the ocean's waters, Ea to Anzu shouted. Around the planet, Anzu made one more circuit. The chariot with much care toward the ocean's edge he lowered. The chariot's lungs he filled with air. Into the waters down it splashed. Into the depth it was not sinking.
Thank you. So he made a third orbit and splashed down in the ocean. And they're not sinking.
From the speaker a voice was heard. To earth be welcomed, Alelu was saying. By his beamed words, the direction of his whereabouts was determined. Toward the place Anzu the chariot directed, floating as a boat it was upon the waters moving. Soon the wide-ranging ocean narrowed, dry land on both sides as guardian appeared. On the left side, brown-hued hills were rising, on the right, mountains to heaven their heads raised. Toward the place of Alelu was the chariot moving, floating like a boat upon the waters it was. Ahead, the dry land was covered with flooding, marshes the oceans were replacing. Anzu to heroes commands uttered, their fishes' suits to put on he ordered. A hatch of the chariot was then opened, into the marshes the heroes descended.
Their fishes' suits he ordered them to put on. Basically, it's like this, your water suit, swimsuits, diving suits, etc. Whatever you want to call it. This is simplified language. Their fishes' suits to put on he ordered. This is simplified language. It's basically your water suit. Make sure you're your air tank, your gas tank, all that stuff.
Strong ropes to the chariot they attached. With the ropes the chariots they pulled. They were pulling. Alelu's beam words, more powerful, were becoming. Hurry, hurry, he was saying. At the edge of the marshes a sight there was to behold. Gleaming in the sun rays was a chariot from Nibiru, Alelu's celestial boat it was. The heroes, their paces quickened, toward Alelu's chariot they hurried. Impatient, Ea donned his fishing suit. Within his chest his heart was like a drum beating. Into the marsh he jumped. Toward its edge hurried steps he directed. High were the marshes flooding. Deeper was the bottom than he expected. He changed his gait to swimming. With bold strokes forward he advanced.
So when he jumped in the water and realized how deep it was, he was like, yo, I gotta swim. So he started swimming instead of trying to walk toward the land.
As dry land he was approaching, green meadows he could see. Then his feet touched firm ground. He stood up, and by walking he continued. Ahead he could see Alelu standing, with his hands with vigor waving. Coming out of the waters ashore Ea stepped. On dark-hued earth he was standing. Alelu toward him came running. His son by marriage he powerfully embraced. Welcome to a different planet, Alelu, to Ea said. Now this is the account of how Eridu on earth was established, how the count of 7 days was begun.
Alright. So, thus far we've learned Alelu first splashed down on earth, discovered that there's gold, beamed the information back to Nibiru. Nibiru set up a whole squad of 50 to come back to earth to investigate and beam their results back to Nibiru. Okay. And now that team of 50 is now on earth, and this is where it gets interesting, guys, because now you're gonna learn where the whole 7 days count came to be, the whole idea of the Sabbath being on the 7th day and all that. So let's go.
In silence did Alelu Ea embrace. With tears of joy his eyes were filled. Before him Ea bowed his head. Respect for his father by marriage he was showing. In the marshes the heroes were advancing. More donned fishes' suits, more toward dry land were rushing. Keep the chariot afloat, Anzu was commanding. In the waters anchor it, the mud ahead avoiding. Ashore stepped the heroes. Before Alelu they were bowing. Ashore came Anzu, the last the chariot to depart. Before Alelu he bowed. With him Alelu in welcome locked arms. To all who had arrived Alelu words of welcome spoke.
Alright, so it's a whole welcome party and shaking of hands and all that shit.
To all who were assembled Ea words of command spoke. Here on earth I am the commander, he was saying. On a life or death mission we have come. In our hands is Nibiru's fate. He looked about for a place for encampment he was searching. Heap up soil, mounds fashioned there, Ea gave command, an encampment to set up. To a place not afar he was pointing, a reed hut abode by Alelu erected. To Anzu then words he directed, to Nibiru words by beaming deliver. To the king my father Anu, successful arrival announce.
So Ea is saying, yo, look, send the message back home that we arrived safely so they know that we're okay out here.
Soon the hue of the skies was changing. From brightness to reddish it was turning. A sight never seen before their eyes was unfolding. The
So these guys have never seen a sunset.
sun, as a red ball on the horizon, was disappearing. Fear seized the heroes. Of a great calamity afraid they were.
So these guys never seen a sunset before. And the first time they're seeing a sunset, they're like, wait, what the hell is that?
Alelu with laughter, words of comfort, was saying, a setting of the sun it is, the ending of one day on earth it is marking. For a quick rest lie down, a night on earth is beyond imagining short. Before you expect the sun will an appearance make, on earth it will be morning.
So he's explaining, yo, look, a day on earth is way shorter than a day on Nibiru. Okay? So get some quick rest, get a nap. We'll be back at this in another 12 hours.
Before expecting darkness came, the heavens from the earth it separated. Lightnings the darkness pierced, rains and the thunders followed. By winds were the waters blown, storms of an alien god they were. In the chariot the heroes hunkered down, in the chariot the heroes huddled. Resting to them did not come, they were greatly agitated.
Yeah, because it's like, yo, it's our first night on a new planet and it's storming, bro. Lightnings and all that shit. A whole sunset that we've never seen before. Crazy.
With quickened hearts the sun's return they awaited. Smiling when its rays appeared they were, joyful and backslapping. And it was evening and it was morning, their first day on earth it was. By daybreak Ea the ongoings considered. To separate waters from waters heed he was given. Ingor he made of the sweet waters, the master drinking waters to provide. To the snake pond with Alelu he went. Its sweet waters to consider, evil serpents in the pond were swarming. So did Ingor to Ea say.
Okay.
The marshlands Ea then contemplated, the abundance of rainwaters he weighed. Enbi Lulu he placed in charge of the marshlands to mark out the thicket of reeds him he directed.
So now they're saying, hey, look, it's all muddy, it's all dirty. Let's separate the drinking waters from the rest of the waters. Some of it is salty, some of it is muddy, some of it is pond water, some of it is stream. So let's separate it. Some of it is rainwater. So let's separate it all to know what is what can be drunken, what needs to be used for other stuff.
Inkamdu in charge of ditch and dike he placed, a boundary for the marshes to fashion, for the waters that from heaven rain a gathering place to make. Thus were the waters below from the waters above separated.
Awesome. So this guy made a concoction or a contraption to catch rainwater, basically. And by this, they would be able to separate rainwater from earth water.
Marsh waters from sweet waters asunder were set. And it was evening and it was morning, the second day on earth it was. When the sun morning announced, the heroes their assigned task were performing. With Alelu, Ea to the place of grass and trees his steps directed. All that in the orchard grows, herbs and fruits, after their kind to examine. To Izimud, his vizier, Ea questions was addressing. Was it this plant? Was it that plant? He was asking. Izimud, one of much learning, food that grows well he could distinguish.
So Izimud is basically the expert here on, would you say, planet foliage or like plant life. He's the expert here. So Ea is saying, yo, is this plant good? Is that plant good? Hey, this looks like that plant. Is it that? Is it, you know what I mean? So he's questioning him so they can find what's edible and what's not.
He tore a fruit from Ea, and honey plant it is, to Ea he was saying. One fruit he himself ate, one fruit Ea was eating. Of food that grows by its good distinguished, Ea the hero guru put in charge. Thus were the heroes water and food provided. Satiated they were not. And it was evening and it was morning, the third day on earth it was.
So, they're eating fruits and drinking water, but they're still hungry.
On the fourth day the winds ceased blowing, the chariot by waves was not disturbed. Let tools from the chariot be brought, let abodes in the encampment be built, Ea thus commanded. Kula, in charge of mold and brick, Ea appointed, from the clay bricks to fashion. Mushdamu to lay foundations he directed, dwelling abodes to erect. All day the sun was shining, the great light by day it was. By evetime Kingu, earth's moon, in fullness a pale light on earth it cast. A lesser light to rule the night among the celestial gods accounted to be. And it was evening and it was morning, the fourth day on earth it was. On the fifth day, Ea Ningursig, a boat of reeds to fashion commanded.
So Ea commanding Gerzig to make a boat of reeds.
The measure of the marshes to take, the stretch of the swamplands to consider.
So basically we're gonna make a boat and map the entire place.
Omosh, he who what in the water swarms knows, who of fowl that fly has understanding. Omosh, a companion Ea took, between good and bad to distinguish.
So Ea took Ulmash to go and distinguish which of the animal life is now good for food. So among the birds, among the fishes, among all that crawls and moves, to distinguish what's edible and what's not.
Kinds that in the water swarm, kinds that in the skies give wing. To Omosh many were unknown. Bewildering was their number. Good were the carp, among the bad they were swimming. Inbi Lulu, the marshland's master, Ea summoned. Inkumdu, in charge of ditch and dike, Ea summoned. To them he gave words, in the marshlands to make a barrier. With cane brakes and green reeds, an enclosure to fashion. Fish from fish there separate. A trap for carp that from a net could not escape. A place whose snare no bird that is good for food could escape. Thus were fish and fowl by their good kind separated, for the heroes provided.
Okay, so basically they're setting traps to catch food. Meats, basically, fish and birds.
And it was evening and it was morning, the fifth day on earth it was. On the sixth day Ea of the orchard's creatures took account. In Herzag to the task he assigned, that which creeps and that which on feet walks to distinguish. Their kinds in Herzag, astounded of the veracity of their wildness, to Ea an account he gave. Ea Kula summoned, to Mushdamu urgent commands he gave. By evetime the abodes to be completed, by a fence for protection to be surrounded. The heroes to the task put their shoulders, bricks on the foundations were quickly laid.
So the heroes put their shoulders to the wheel to make sure that their temporary dwellings were completed by nightfall.
With reeds were the roofings made,
and to make sure that it's fenced so that those fierce creatures wouldn't be able to attack.
Of cut down trees was the fencing put up. Anzu, a beam that kills from the chariot brought over. A speaker that words beams at Ea's abode he set up. By evetime complete was the encampment. For the night therein the heroes gathered. Ea and Alelu and Anzu the doings considered. All that was done indeed was good. And it was evening, and it was morning, the sixth day. On the seventh day the heroes in the encampment were assembled. To them Ea spoke these words. A hazardous journey we have undertaken. From Nibiru to the seventh planet a dangerous way we traversed. At earth we with success arrived. Much good we attained, an encampment we established. Let this day be a day of rest. The seventh day hereafter a day of resting always to be.
Okay. So Ea declared the seventh day of rest. Okay. Now bear in mind, this guy is not the creator of all. If you've been following the story, you know he was born on the planet called Nibiru. He's here on Earth as the lead scientist on a mission to look for gold and to recover gold and send it back to their planets. So him declaring the seventh day as the day of rest here, I mean, that's what we've been following for centuries, right? For eons, apparently. Okay, so Ea is the one who declared the seventh day the day of rest. Sabbath or Shabbat or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Let this place henceforth by the name Eridu be called, home in the far away, the meaning thereof will be. Let a promise be kept, let a Leilu of Eridu the commander be declared. The heroes thus assembled in unison agreements shouted. Words of consent a Leilu uttered, then homage to Ea he greatly paid. Let Ea a second name be given. Nudimmud, the artful fashioner, let him be called. In unison the heroes agreement announced. And it was evening, and it was morning, the seventh day. Now, this is the account of how the searching for gold was begun, and how the plans on Nibiru made to Nibiru salvation did not provide.
So, as you can see, Ea had his first name change to Nudimmud. It's not going to be called that much hereafter, but that was his first name change to Nudimmud. Okay, so let's follow it.
After the encampment of Eridu was established and the heroes with food were satiated, Ea, the task of gold from the waters obtaining, started. In the chariot the firestones were stirred up, its great cracker was enlivened. That which water sucks from the chariot was extended, into the marsh waters it was inserted. Into a vessel of crystals the waters were directed. From the waters the crystals all that is metal in the vessel extracted. Then from the vessel that which spits out the waters to the fish pond spat out. Thus were the metals that were in the waters in the vessel collected.
This is the first account of dredging, guys. So they're dredging the marshlands, running it through some kind of sluice, collecting the metals out of it, and all the tailings go into the fish pond.
Ingenious was Ea's handiwork, an artful fashioner indeed he was. For the 6 earth days marsh waters were sucked in, marsh waters were spat out. In the vessel metals indeed were collected. The metals on the 7th day by Ea and Aleilu were examined. Of many kinds were the metals in the vessel. Iron there was, much copper there was, of gold there was no abundance. In the chariot another vessel, the artful handiwork of Nudimmud, the metals after their kinds were separated.
Nudimmud again is Ea, the lead scientist on the mission. So whatever he came up with to separate the metals, the different types of metals, is what he's talking about here.
Ashore, kind by kind, they were carried. For 6 days thus did the heroes toil. On the 7th day they rested. For 6 days were the crystal vessels filled and emptied. On the 7th day were the metals accounted. There was iron and there was copper and other metals too. Of the gold the smallest pile was accumulated. In the night times the moon waxed and waned. By the name month did Ea its circuit call. A month's very start its luminous horns 6 days signified.
Okay. So Ea is now calling the moon cycle a month.
By its half crown the 7th day it announced, a day to rest it was. At midway by a fullness was the moon distinguished, then it paused to become diminished. When the sun's course was the moon's circuit appearing, with earth's circuit it was its face revealing. Fascinated by the moon's motions was Ea, its attachment as Kingu to Ki he contemplated. What purpose did the attachment serve? What heavenly sign was it giving? A month did Ea the moon's circuit call. Month to its circuit he gave the name. For 1 month, for 2 months, in the chariot were the waters separated. The sun every 6 months to earth another season gave. Winter and summer did Ea by names them call.
Okay, so he's now naming the seasons.
There was winter and there was summer. By year of earth did Ea the full circuit call. By year's end of the accumulated gold account was taken. Much to dispatch to Nibiru there was not. The swamp's land's waters are deficient. Let the chariot to the deeper ocean be moved. So was Ea saying.
So he's dredging the marshlands for a year and realize, hey, we've been doing this for a year and we don't even have the first collection of enough gold to send back to Nibiru. I mean, we need to go dredging elsewhere. So they're moving now to the ocean.
From its moorings was the chariot untied. Back whence it came, it was shifted. With great care were the crystal vessels stirred up, the salt waters through them passing. Metals by their kinds were separated, gold among them was sparkling. From the chariot of the happenings, Ea to Nibiru word did beam. Anu to hear it was pleased indeed. In its destined circuit, Nibiru to the sun's abode was returning. A closeness to earth on its shar circuit was Nibiru attaining. With eagerness did Anu about the gold inquire. Is there enough for sending to Nibiru, he was asking. Alas, not enough was of the gold from the waters collected. Let another shar pass, let the quantity be doubled, Ea to Anu counseled.
So Ea is saying to his father, yo, look, we don't have enough gold yet. Wait for another year on Nibiru. I mean, wait for another, when Nibiru comes back closer to Earth, then we will send that. By then we'll have double the amount.
From the ocean's waters the obtaining of gold continued. In his heart Ea with apprehension was filling. From the chariot parts were hauled out, a sky chamber from them was assembled. Abgal, he who knows piloting, of the sky chamber to take charge he appointed. Daily in the sky chamber with Abgal did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets to learn.
And that sky chariot, guys, pretty much kind of like a helicopter or a drone or something to that effect, where you can fly around and observe from above.
For the sky chamber an enclosure was constructed, by Alelu's chariot was it placed. Daily the crystals in Alelu's chariot did Ea study. What by their beams was discovered to understand. Whence does this gold come, he asked Alelu. Where on earth are Tiamat's golden veins? In the sky chamber with Abgal did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets to learn. Over great mountains they roamed, in the valleys great rivers they saw. Steppes and forests below were stretched, thousands of leagues was their reach. Vast lands separated by oceans they recorded, with the beam that scans the soils they penetrated. On Nibiru impatience was growing. Can gold protection provide, was the outcry increasing. Assemble the gold on Nibiru's nearing gold you must deliver.
So they're on Nibiru contemplating, hey, look, I don't care how much gold you have, let's send it so we can start testing to know if this is going to save our planet or not.
So did Anu, Ea command. Repair Alelu's chariot, for returning to Nibiru make it fit. For the shar's completion make it ready. So was Anu saying. Ea, his father's, the king's words was heeding. The repairing of Alelu's chariot he was contemplating. As the sky chamber, one eve by the side of the chariot they landed. With Abgal the chariot they entered, a secret deed in the darkness to perform. The weapons of Terra, the 7 of them from the chariot they removed. To the sky chamber they took them, inside the sky chamber them to give hiding. By sunrise, Ea with Abgal in the sky chamber soared. To another land was their direction. There, in a secret place, did Ea the weapons hide. In a cave, a place unknown, he stored them. Then to Anzu, Ea words of command gave. To repair Alelu's chariot he him directed. For returning to Nibiru to make it fit, by the shar's completion to make it ready.
So the weapons of mass destruction, the 7 of them, they removed them from the chariot, took them to the sky chamber / helicopter or whatever drone they're using, hid them, because these weapons were actually parts on Alalu's ship when he first landed. So they hid them and repaired the ship and prepared repair the ship in preparation to return the gold to Nibiru.
Anzu, in the ways of chariot, greatly skilled to the task his labors set. He made its thrusters hum again, its tablets he carefully considered. The absence of the weapons of Terra he soon discovered. With anger Anzu cried out. Ea of their hiding away gave the explanation. Forsworn is the weapon's use, Ea was saying. Neither in the heavens nor on firm lands shall they ever be harnessed. Without them no passage through the hammered bracelet is safe, Anzu was saying. Without them, without water thrusters, the danger is endurance surpassing. Alelu of Eridu the commander the words of Ea considered. To the words of Anzu heed he gave. The words of Ea by the council of Nibiru are attested, Alelu was saying. But without the chariot's return, Nibiru shall be doomed. Abgal, he who knows piloting, boldly toward the leader stepped forward. I shall be the pilot, the dangers I shall valiantly face, he was saying. Thus was the decision made. Abgal shall be the pilot, Anzu on earth shall be staying. On Nibiru, the stargazers, the destinies of the celestial gods contemplated. An opportune day they were selecting.
So on Nibiru, they're observing the planet's movements and everything, looking for the opportune day to send a ship to Earth, or to have the ship from Earth land on Nibiru.
Into Alelu's chariot, basketfuls of gold were carried. The forepart of the chariot Abgal entered, the commander's seat he occupied. From the chariot of Ea, to him Ea a tablet of destiny gave. It shall be that which shows the way for you. By it the open pathway you shall find.
In other words, he gave him some kind of navigation system to show him, the directions he need to take.
The chariot's firestones Abgal stirred up. Their hum like music was enthralling. The chariot's great cracker he enlivened. A reddish brilliance it was casting. Ea and Alelu, the multitude of heroes, were standing around.
Think about it. The chariot's firestones Abgal stirred up. Their hum like music was enthralling. The chariot's great cracker he enlivened. A reddish brilliance it was casting. Sounds a lot like a modern day rocket ship taking off, right? Let me know what you think in the comments.
Farewell to him they were bidding. Then the chariot with a roar heavenward rose. To the heavens it ascended. To Nibiru words of the ascent were beamed. On Nibiru there was much expecting.
So, let me fix the lighting. Try to close out some of this. Alright. So, thus far we've learned. These guys, they're here looking for the gold veins. They're trying to get enough gold to take back to their planet, Nibiru. They're having an atmosphere issue where they're trying to fix the atmosphere with what we call subatomic gold. Okay? So, tablet 4, without further ado, let's dive right into it.
Synopsis of the fourth tablet. The Nibiruans hail even the small gold delivery. Test of gold's use as an atmospheric shield succeed. Additional heroes and new equipment are sent to Earth. Gold extraction from the water continues to disappoint. Ea discovers gold sources that need deep mining in the Abzu. Enlil, then Anu, come to Earth for crucial decisions. As the half-brothers quarrel, lots decide the task. Ea, renamed Enki, Earth's master, goes to the Abzu. Enlil stays to develop permanent facilities in the Eden. As Anu prepares to leave, he is attacked by Alelu. The seven who judge sentence Alelu to exile on Lamu.
Wait a minute. Enlil stays to develop permanent facilities in the... What is this word? Eden. Isn't that like the Garden of Eden? Let's hear it.
Anu's daughter Ninmah, a medical officer, is sent to Earth. Stopping off at Lamu, Mars, she finds Alelu dead. A rock carved to resemble Alelu's face serves as his tomb. Anzu is given command of a way station on Lamu. To Nibiru, words of the ascent were beamed. On Nibiru there was much expecting. With confidence was Abgal the chariot guiding. Around Kingu, the moon, he made a circuit, by its net powers speed to gain. 1,000 leagues, 10,000 leagues toward Lamu he journeyed. By its net power a direction toward Nibiru to obtain. Beyond Lamu the hammer bracelet was a-whirling. Deftly did Abgal Ea's crystals make a glow, the open paths to locate. The eve of fate upon him with favor looked. Beyond the bracelet the chariot beam signals from Nibiru was receiving. Homeward, homeward was the direction. Ahead in the darkness in reddish hue glowed Nibiru. A sight to behold it was. By the beam signals the chariot was now directed.
As you notice, Nibiru also has the same color description as Mars, which suggests that it has the same color as Mars. Reddish hue. Nibiru and Mars has the same color, guys, is what we're deciphering here. Ahead in the darkness, in reddish hue glowed Nibiru, a sight to behold it was. Okay, and that's the same description for Lahamu, as they call it, Mars, reddish hue. So Nibiru and Mars, same color.
Trice around Nibiru it made circuits, by its net force to be slowed. Nearing the planet, the breach in its atmosphere Abgal could see. A squeezing in his heart he felt, of the gold he was bringing was he thinking. Passing through the atmosphere's thickness, aglow was the chariot, its heat overbearing. Deftly did Abgal spread the chariot's wings, its descent thereby resting. Beyond lay the place of the chariots, a sight most inviting. Gently did Abgal the chariot bring down to a place by the beams selected. He opened the hatch. A multitude of populace was there assembled. Anu toward him stepped forward, locked arms, warm greetings uttered. Heroes into the chariot rushed. The gold-bearing baskets they brought out. High above their heads they the baskets held. To the assembled words of victory Anu shouted. Salvation is here, to them he was saying. To the palace was Abgal accompanied, to rest and tell all he was escorted. The gold, a sight most dazzling, by the savants was quickly taken. To make of it the finest dust, to skyward launch it was hauled away. A shard did the fashioning last, a shard did the testing continue. With rockets was the dust heavenward carried, by crystals beams was it dispersed. Where there was a breach, now there was a healing.
So, from their testing, using the monoatomic gold to fix the breach in their atmosphere, they're realizing, hey, shit, this works. And they're testing it for an entire year. An entire Nibiru year.
Joy the palace filled, abundance in the land was expected. To earth, Anu good words was beaming. Gold gives salvation, the obtaining of gold do continue. When Nibiru near the sun came, the golden dust was by its rays disturbed. The healing in the atmosphere was dwindled. The breach to bigness returned. Anu, the return of Abgal to earth, then commanded. In the chariot more heroes traveled. In its bowels more, that which the water sucks in and thrust out, were provided. With them none got.
a new set of warriors, a new set of workers, a whole set out of dredging tools, a whole lot more dredging tools, because now they need a whole lot more gold, because when they came close to the sun, what they were doing got disturbed. You know, I mean, the gold, it doesn't say whether it melted or fell back to the planet or what, but the breach in the atmosphere returned to what it was. So they're thinking, hey, we need a lot more gold if we're going to maintain this.
Great joy there was when Abgal to Eridu returned. Many greetings and the locking of arms there was. The new water workings Ea with care contemplated.
And guys, if you're new to the stream, it's the Rasta Ren Reads. We're going to do this every Sunday, where we deep dive into the deep, dark depths of the truth. You know what I mean? And we provide the evidence of what we find, and we discuss it on the live. So if you have questions, you have any comments, anything you think I missed, if you think I'm misrepresenting the information or whatever, throw it in the comments and let's talk about it. Okay? So again, it's Rasta Ren. All the socials are in the description. We're on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Rumble. Okay? Rasta Ren.
There was smiling on his face, in his heart there was a squeezing. By Shar time, Nungal in the chariot was to depart ready. In its bows the chariot only a few baskets of gold carried. The disappointment on Nibiru's Ea's heart to him was predicting. Ea with Alelu words exchanged. That which was known they reconsidered. If Earth, the head of Tiamat, was in the celestial battle cut off, where was the neck? Where were the golden veins cut asunder? Where were the golden veins from Earth's innards protruding? In the sky chamber Ea over mountains and valleys traveled. The lands by oceans separated he with the scanner examined.
So at this time, Ea is now reconsidering what they thought they know, and saying, yo, look, we need to scan everything again and find where the main gold veins are, because we need the gold.
Again and again there was the same indication. Where dry land from dry land apart was torn, Earth's innards were revealed. Where the landmass the shape of a heart was given, in the lower part thereof golden veins from Earth's innards were abundant. Abzu, of gold the birthplace, Ea to the region the name gave.
Abzu, the birthplace of gold. This was South Africa, guys.
Ea then to Anu words of wisdom beamed.
And this mine is still active today.
With gold, earth indeed is filled. From the veins, not from the waters, the gold must be gotten. From earth's bowels, not from its waters, must the gold be obtained. From a region beyond the ocean, Abzu shall be called, can an abundance of gold be gotten. In the palace there was great astonishment. Savants and counselors to Ea's words gave consideration. That gold must be obtained, on that unanimity there was. How to obtain it from the bowels of the earth, of that there was much discussion.
So everyone agrees that, yeah, we need the gold. But what they're not agreeing on is how to go about mining the gold.
In the assembly a prince spoke up. Enlil he was, the half-brother of Ea. First Alelu, then his son by marriage, Ea, upon waters placed all hope. Of salvation by water's gold they were reassuring. Shar after Shar, all of us salvation were expecting. Now different words we are hearing, a task beyond imagining to undertake. Proof of the golden veins is needed. A plan for success must be ensured. So was Enlil to the assembly saying. To his words many in agreement listened. Let Enlil go to earth, Anu was saying. Let him proof obtain, a plan put forward. His words shall be heeded. His words a command shall be. In unanimity the assembly its consent gave. Enlil's mission it approved. With Al-Algar, his chief lieutenant, Enlil for earth departed. Al-Algar his pilot was. With each a sky chamber were the two of them provided. To To earth the words of Anu, the king, words of decisions were beamed. Enlil of the mission and command shall be, his word shall be the command.
So at this point, they're look, send out a mission commander to take over the entire mission. We're gonna trust his words over everybody else's, and he's gonna take command of how y'all are gonna mine the gold.
When Enlil on earth arrived, Ea with his half-brother warmly locked arms. As brother meets brother, Ea Enlil did welcome. To Alelu, Enlil made a bowing. Alelu with weak words him bade welcome. The heroes to Enlil words of warm welcome were shouting. Of the commander much they were expecting. Deftly, Enlil the sky chambers to be assembled did command. In a sky chamber he went a-soaring. Alaugar, his chief lieutenant, was as the pilot with him. Ea, in a sky chamber, by Abgal piloted to them to the Abzu, showed the way.
So, Enlil is now on Earth. Ea's half brother, and he's now in one of them sky chambers, quote unquote. Drone, helicopter, whatever you want to call it. And they're now heading down to South Africa, the Abzu, quote unquote, to see proof that, hey, the gold is inside there's more, you can find the gold veins in the earth rather than in the water.
They surveyed the dry lands of the oceans, they took careful notice. From the upper sea to the lower sea, the lands they scanned. Of all that was above and that was below, they took account. In the Abzu, the soil they tested. Gold there was indeed. With much soil and rocks it was commixed. Refined as in the waters it was not. In an admixture it was hiding. They went back to Eridu. What they had found they contemplated. Eridu new tasks must be given. Alone on earth it cannot continue. Thus was Enlil saying, a great plan he described, a wide mission he was proposing, more heroes to bring over, more settlements to establish, the gold from earth's innards to obtain, the gold from the admixture to separate, by skyships and chariots to be carried from landing place task to perform.
Okay. So after Enlil did his survey, he came up with a whole elaborate plan of how they're gonna go ahead and extract the gold, how they're gonna refine the gold, and how they're gonna transport it.
Who of the settlements in charge will be? Who of the Abzu shall take command? Thus was Ea of Enlil asking. Who of enlarged Eridu shall take command? Who the settlements shall oversee? Thus was Alelu saying. Who of the skyships and the landing place shall take command? So did Anzu inquire. Let Anu come to earth, let him decisions provide. Thus did Enlil say in answer. Now this is the account of how Anu to earth came, how lots with Ea and Enlil were drawn, how Ea the title named Enki was given, how Alelu for the second time with Anu wrestled. To earth in a celestial chariot did Anu journey, the route by the planets it followed.
Bear in mind, guys, Anu is the king or the leader on the planet Nibiru. Okay, so he's now coming to Earth to witness the gold for himself, and a whole lot of stuff is gonna go down when he gets here. So let's go through it.
Around the moon, Nagal the pilot a circuit made. By Anu was it closely observed. The moon, the one who Kingu once had been, they circled and admired. Perchance gold thereon can also be found. In his heart Anu wondered. In the waters beside the marshlands his chariot splashed down. Ea for the arrival reed boats prepared, for Anu to arrive by sailing. Above the sky chambers were hovering, a royal welcome they were offering. In the lead boat Ea himself was afloat.
So, if the sky chambers are able to hover, guys, then that's more like a drone, isn't it?
The king, his father, the first to be greeting. Before Anu he bowed, then Anu embraced him. My son, my firstborn, Anu to him shouted. In the square of Eridu in rows stood the heroes, their king to earth royally to welcome. In front of them stood Enlil, their commander. Before Anu the king he bowed. Anu him to his chest embraced. Alelu too was there standing. Of what to do he was uncertain. Anu to him a greeting extended. Let us lock arms as comrades, to Alelu he said. With hesitation Alelu stepped forward. With Anu he locked arms.
Now, why is Alelu or Alalu hesitant to lock arms with Anu? Anu is the one who defeated him and dethroned him back on Nibiru. So obviously he's going to be hesitant to lock arms and greet the one who, kicked him out of power, right?
A meal for Anu was prepared. By evetime, to a reed hut for him by Ea built, Anu retired. The next day, the 7th, by the count begun by Ea, was a day of resting. A day of backslapping and celebrating it was, as befits a king's coming. On the day that followed, Ea and Enlil before Anu the findings presented. What was done and what doing needed with him they discussed. Let me see the lands by myself, Anu to them was saying. Aloft they all in the sky chambers went. Lands from sea to sea they observed. To the Absu they flew. On its gold-hiding soil they landed. Difficult will the gold's extraction be, Anu was saying. To obtain the gold it is necessary. No matter how deep the gold is below the surface, it must be gotten. Let Ea and Enlil tools for the purpose devise. Let them heroes for the task assign. Let them find how gold from soil and rock separates. How to Nibiru pure gold to deliver. Let a landing place to be built. Let more heroes to the task on earth be assigned. So was Anu to the two sons saying. In his heart of way stations in the heavens he was thinking.
All right. So this is Anu giving the commands here. Saying, yo, Enki, Enlil, you guys take command. You need to know what to do. You do the research. You do the testing. Assign people to do different tasks, etc., etc.
Those were the command words of Anu. Ea and Enlil, in agreement, their heads were bowing. There were evenings and there were mornings. To Eridu they all returned. In Eridu they held a council, tasks and duties to assign. Ea, who Eridu established, was the first to speak up. Eridu have I established. Let other settlements in this region be set up. Let it the Eden be, abode of the upright ones, by this name be known.
Let it be the Eden, the Garden of Eden, right? Told you. Ea, who had already established Eridu, was the first to speak. He's saying, I've already established Eridu. Let's establish other settlements. And let's call it the Eden. Meaning the abode of the upright ones. Ta-da! Even though it's not E-D-E-N, it's still Eden, right? The Eden. Okay. So let's see what they did in the Eden.
The commander of the Eden let me be. Let Enlil the gold extraction perform. By these words Enlil was angered. The plan is wrongful to Anu, he said. Of commanding and task to perform I am the better. Of skyships I have the knowledge. Of the earth and its secrets my half-brother Ea is the knower. The Absu he discovered. Let him of the Absu be the master. Anu to the angry words with a careful ear listened. The brothers were again half-brothers. The firstborn with the legal heir with words as weapons were contending. Ea was the firstborn son. By a concubine to Anu he was born. Enlil, thereafter born by Antu, Anu's spouse, was conceived. A half-sister of Anu she was. Thereby Enlil the legal heir making. Thereby the next-born son for the succession the firstborn overcoming. A conflict that the obtainment of gold would endanger Anu was fearing.
All right. So Anu is contemplating, these guys are half-brothers, one by a concubine, one by my wife. One by my wife, Enlil. He's the legal heir to the throne. But I don't want these guys fighting over who's in control here, so That's what he's contemplating.
One of the brothers to Nibiru must return. The succession from considering must now be removed. So was Anu to himself thinking. Aloud to two a startling suggestion he made. Who to Nibiru the throne seat shall return, who the Eden shall command, who in the Absu shall be the master. Let us three, I with you, by lots determine.
So Anu is putting up his seat on the throne between his two sons and himself, well, among his two sons and himself, to see, who's they're basically drawing lots at this point, because nobody is able to come to an informed decision.
Silent were the brothers. The audacious words by surprise them overtook. Let us draw lots, Anu said. By the hand of fate let there be a decision. The three, father and two sons, clasped their hands together. They cast lots. By the lots the task they divided. Anu to Nibiru to return, its ruler on the throne to remain. The Eden to Enlil was allotted, to be lord of the command as his name indicated. More settlements to establish, of the skyships and their heroes charged to take. Of all the lands until they the bar of the seas encounter, the leader to be.
So, by lots, Anu was selected to go back to his throne, and Lil selected as the commander of the mission.
To Ea, the seas and the oceans as his domain were granted. Lands beyond the bar of the waters by him to be governed. In the Absu to be the master, with ingenuity the gold to procure. Enlil with the lots was agreeable. The hand of fate he with a bow accepted. Ea's eyes filled with tears. Of Eridu and the Eden he wished not to be parted.
Okay. Because Ea is like, yo, this is my life work, bro. Why am I being torn away from my life work?
Let Ea forever Eridu as his home retain, Anu to Enlil was saying. Let his being the first to splash down forever be remembered. Let Ea as Earth's master be known. Enki, Earth's master, let his title be.
So this is the second time Ea changing his name. He was Ea, then Nodimud, now Enki.
His father's words Enlil with a bow accepted. To his brother he thus said, Enki, Earth's master, your title name shall henceforth be. I, Lord of the command, shall be known. To the heroes in assembly Anu, Enki, and Enlil the decisions announced. The tasks are assigned. Success is in the offing. Anu to them was saying, Now farewell I can bid you. To Nibiru with quiet heart I can return. Forward to Anu Alelu stepped. A grave matter has been forgotten, he shouted. The mastery of earth to me was allotted. That was the promise when the gold finds to Nibiru I announced.
Okay. So as you can see, guys, remember Alalu, the first one who splashed down, he found the gold, sent his demands back to Nibiru that, hey, I have the gold that's gonna save the planet. If you guys don't bow down to me or heed my commands, then, basically, fuck you is what he was saying. And now that Anu, the king, is here on Earth, divided the lots between himself and his two sons, and nothing for Alalu. So Alalu is mad.
Nor have I the claim to Nibiru's throne forsaken. By Anu to share all with his sons, it is a grave abomination. Thus did Alelu, Anu, and the decision challenge. Without words was Anu in the beginning. Then with anger he spoke up. By a second wrestling let our dispute be decided. Let us the wrestling do here. Let us do it now. With disdain Alelu took off his clothing. Likewise did Anu unrobe. In nakedness did the two royals begin to grapple.
Bruh. Pause. In nakedness, the two royals begin to grab. Sounds a lot like sumo wrestling, doesn't it?
A mighty struggle it was. Alelu bent his knee. To the ground Alelu fell. Anu on the chest of Alelu with his foot pressed down, victory in the wrestling thereby declaring. By wrestling the decision was made, I am the king. To Nibiru Alelu shall not return. So was Anu saying as he removed his foot from the fallen Alelu.
So, Anu beat Alelu in a second wrestling match, standing over him declaring, yo, I won. Foot in his chest and everything. Okay. Wait a minute.
And the decision challenge.
Okay. I won. I'm the king. Yada yada. Okay. So, let's see what happened.
In nakedness did the two royals begin to grapple. A mighty struggle it was. Alelu bent his knee. To the ground Alelu fell. Anu on the chest of Alelu with his foot pressed down, victory in the wrestling thereby declaring. By wrestling the decision was made, I am the king. To Nibiru Alelu shall not return. So was Anu saying as he removed his foot from the fallen Alelu. Up as a lightning Alelu from the ground arose. By the legs Anu he pulled down.
Remember, these guys are naked. They're wrestling naked, okay? And this guy springs up from the ground, grabs Anu by the legs.
His mouth was wide open. Swiftly he the male hood of Anu bit off.
Uh-oh. Pause. Pause. Pause, brother. His mouth was wide open. Geez, let's go back a little bit. Up as a lightning, Alelu from the ground arose. By the legs, Anu he pulled down. So he sprang up, grabbed the guy by the legs, pull him down. Remember, they're wrestling naked, right? His mouth wide open. Swiftly, the male hood of Anu he bit off. Pause. Pause. Pause, brother.
The male hood of Anu did Alelu swallow.
God.
In pain, agony did Anu a cry to the heavens shout. To the ground wounded he fell. Inky to the falling Anu rushed.
So this guy bit off the other guy's genitals and swallowed it.
Enlil the laughing Alelu captive held. Heroes Anu to his but carried words of accusation against Alelu he uttered. Let justice be done. Enlil to his lieutenant shouted, with your beam weapon let Alelu be killed.
So Anu starts shouting, Enlil starts shouting, yo, somebody need to shoot Alelu.
No, no, Inky fiercely shouted. Justice is within him. In his innards poison has entered. They took Alelu to a reed hut. His hands and feet as a prisoner they bound.
Okay, so now they cuffed him, took him to a reed hut.
Now this is the account of the judging of Alelu, and of the happenings thereafter on earth and on Lemieux. In his reed hut Anu was hurting. In the reed hut to him Inky applied the healing. In his reed hut Alelu was sitting, spittle he spat from his mouth. In his innards the male hood of Anu was like a burden. With Anu's semen were his innards impregnated. Like a female in travail his belly grew swollen.
Oh shit. Oh shit. So this guy was spitting and spitting and spitting. Anu's semen got him swollen, like when a female is impregnated. Oh shit.
On the third day Anu's pains subsided. His pride was greatly hurting. To Nibiru I wish to return, to his 2 sons did Anu say. Beforehand upon Alelu there must be a judgment, a sentence the crime befitting must be imposed. By the laws of Nibiru 7 judges were required, the highest of rank on them to preside. In the square of Eridu the heroes were assembled, the trial of Alelu to observe.
7 judges. In today's law system, we have what? 7 members of jury of your peers, right? 7 that judge. Okay, let's go.
For the 7 who judge, 7 seats were provided. For Anu, presiding, the tallest seat was prepared. To his right, Enki was seated. Enlil was seated on Anu's left.
So Anu is presiding as the judge.
On Enki's right, Anzu and Nangal were seated. Abgal and Alalgar to the left of Enlil sat. Before these 7 who judge, Alelu was brought. His hands and feet were untied. Enlil was first to speak. In fairness, a wrestling match was held. Alelu the kingship to Anu forfeited. What say you, Alelu? Enki him the question asked. In fairness, the wrestling match was held. The kingship I forfeited, Alelu said. Having been vanquished, Alelu an abominable crime performed. The malehood of Anu he bit and swallowed. Thus did Enlil the accusation of the crime make. Death is the punishment, Enlil was saying. What say you, Alelu? Enki his father by marriage asked. There was silence. Alelu the question did not answer. We all the crime did witness, Alalgar was saying. Judgment must be in accordance. If words you wish to utter, speak before the judging, Enki to Alelu said. In the silence, Alelu slowly began to speak. On Nibiru I was king. By right of succession I was reigning. Anu was my cupbearer. The princes he aroused. To a wrestling he me challenged. For 9 counted circuits I was king on Nibiru. To my seed kingship was belonging. On my throne seat Anu himself sat. To escape death to distant earth I made a dangerous journey. Salvation for Nibiru I, Alelu, on the alien planet discovered. Return to Nibiru I was promised, in fairness the throne to regain. Then to earth came Ea, the one by compromise, the next to reign Nibiru he was designated. Then came Enlil, the succession from Anu to himself claiming. Then Anu came. By lots he tricked Ea and Enki, the lord of earth. He was proclaimed of earth, not of Nibiru, to be the master. Then to Enlil command was granted. Enki to the distant Absu was delegated. My heart of all that was aching, my chest from shame and anger was bursting. Then Anu his foot upon my chest placed. Upon my aching heart he was treading. In the silence Anu spoke up. By royal seed and law, by fair wrestling did I gain the throne. My malehood you bit off and swallowed, my offspring line to discontinue.
Yo. Bruh, it's sad, but pause. Bruh, why the heck you biting off another man's malehood and swallowing that shit, bruh? Pause.
Enlil spoke up. To the crime the accused admitted, let the judgment come. Let death the punishment be. Death, said Alalgar. Death, said Abgal. Death, said Nangal. Death to Alelu by itself will be coming. What he had swallowed in his innards death will bring, Enki was saying. Let Alelu for the rest of his days on earth be in prison, Anzu was saying. Their words Anu was contemplating, angry and pity both him engulfed. To die in exile, let this be the judgment, Anu was saying. In amazement the judges at each other glanced. What Anu was saying they wondered. Neither on earth nor on Nibiru shall the exiling be, Anu was saying. On the way there is Lamu planet. With waters and an atmosphere it is endowed. Enki as Ea thereon made a pause. Of it as a way station have I been thinking. Its nest force is less than that of earth forceful, an advantage in wisdom to be considered. In the celestial chariot Alelu shall be taken. On my departing from earth, he with me shall make the journey. Around the planet Lamu we shall make circuits. To Alelu a sky chamber we shall provide. To the planet Lamu in it he will be descended. Alone on a strange planet in exile he shall be, his days to his last day by himself to count. Thus did Anu words of judgment utter, in solemnity were the words intended. By unanimity was the judgment upon Alelu imposed. In the presence of the heroes it was announced.
So Alelu is sentenced to death in isolation. So, and his isolation will not be on Nibiru nor on Earth. He should be isolated on Mars. Okay.
Let Nungal be my pilot to Nibiru. Therefrom chariots bearing heroes again to Earth to pilot. Let Anzu join for the journey of the descent to Lamu to take charge. So did Anu commandments utter. On the morrow departing was readied. All who depart by boats to the chariot were ferried. A place for landings on firm soil you must prepare, Anu to Enlil was saying. How Lamu as a way station to utilize plans you should be making. Farewells there were, both joy and sorrow. Limping did Anu on the chariot embark. With his hands tied did Alelu the chariot enter. Then to the heavens the chariot soared up, and the royal visit had ended. They around the moon made a circuit. Anu by the sight was enchanted. Toward red-hued Lamu they journeyed. Twice about it they circled. Lower toward the strange planet they came. Mountains sky high and tears in the surface they noticed. Where Ea's chariots had once landed they observed. By a lakeside it was located. Slowed by Lamu net power in the chariot the sky chamber they readied. Anzu its pilot then unexpected words to Anu was saying. With Alelu to the firm soil of Lamu I shall descend. With the sky chamber to the chariot to return I wish not. With Alelu on the strange planet I shall stay. Until he dies I shall protect him. When he dies of his innards poison, as befits a king him I shall bury. As for me, I shall have made my name. Anzu, they will say, against all odds to a king in exile a companion was. He saw things by others unseen. On a strange planet he faced unknown things.
So Anzu is saying, yo, look, you know, I'll do this. I'll stay by the guy's side and whatever. Until he dies, I can give him a royal burial.
Anzu, they will to the end of times shall say, like a hero has fallen. There were tears in the eyes of Alelu. There was amazement in the heart of Anu. Your wish shall be honored to Anzu, Anu said. Hereby let a promise by me to you be made. By my raised hand to you I this swear. On the next journey a chariot by Lamu shall circuit. Its sky ship to you shall descend. If alive, it shall find you, the master of Lamu. You shall be proclaimed. When a way station on Lamu shall be established, its commander you shall be. Anzu bowed his head. So be it to Anu, he said. Into the sky chamber Alelu and Anzu were ushered. With eagles' helmets and fishes' suits they were provided. With food and tools they were supplied. From the circling chariot the sky ship departed. From the chariot its descent was observed. Then from view it disappeared, and the chariot of Nibiru continued. For 9 shars was Alelu king on Nibiru. For 8 shars Eridu he commanded. In the 9th shar, to die in exile on Lamu was his fate. Now this is the account of the return of Anu to Nibiru, and how Alelu on Lamu was buried, how Enlil on earth the landing place built. On Nibiru there was for Anu a joyous welcome. Of what had happened to the council and the princes Anu gave account. Neither pity nor vengeance from them all he sought. To discuss the task ahead he them all instructed. To the assembled a vision great in scope he outlined. Way stations from Nibiru to earth to establish. All the sun's family in one kingdom to encompass. The first on Lamu to be fashioned, the moon for the plans also to be considered. On the other planets or their circling host stations to set up. A chain, a constant caravan of chariots to supply and safeguard. The gold from earth without interruptions to Nibiru bring, perchance gold elsewhere to also find.
So basically, they're establishing a whole chain, a whole delivery chain between Earth and Nibiru using Mars and other moons and planets in the solar system.
The counselors, the princes, the savants, Anu's plans considered. The salvation of Nibiru in the plans they all a promise saw. Savants and commanders knowledge of the celestial gods perfected. To chariots and skyships a new kind, rocket ships were added. Heroes for the task were selected. For the task there was much learning. The plans to Enki and Enlil were beamed over. Preparations on Earth to hurry they were told. On Earth of what had happened and what to be done is required there was much discussion. Enki, Alagar, to be of Eridu the overseer appointed. His own steps to the Absu he directed. Where to obtain gold from Earth's bowels he then determined. What heroes to the task are needed he calculated. What tools were required he contemplated. An earth splitter with cleverness Enki designed. On Nibiru that it be fashioned he requested. Therewith in the earth to make a gash, its innards reach by way of tunnels. That which crunches and that which crushes he also designed. On Nibiru for the Abzu to be fashioned.
So a cruncher slash crusher to extract the gold from the rocks.
Of other matters Nibiru's savants he to contemplate ask. Of matters of health and well-being of heroes the needs he listed. To the heroes Earth's quick circuits were upsetting. Earth's quick day and night cycles dizziness were causing. The atmosphere, though good, was in some things lacking and in other things too abundant. Of the sameness of the food the heroes were complaining. Enlil, the commander, by the heat of the sun on earth was afflicted. For coolness and shade he was longing.
So Enlil could not bear the sun.
While in the Abzu Enki preparations was making, Enlil in his sky ship the extent of the Eden was surveying. Of mountains and rivers he took account, of valleys and plains the measures he took. Where a landing place to establish, a place for the rocket ships he was seeking. Enlil, by the heat of the sun afflicted, for a place of coolness and shade was searching. To snow-covered mountains on the Eden's north side he took a liking. The tallest trees he ever saw grew there in a cedar forest. There above a mountain valley with power beams the surface he flattened.
Okay. So this guy flattened an entire place up north where there's snow and all the coolness and tall cedar trees and shit, so he doesn't get his skin parched by the sun.
Great stones
Sounds a lot like some folks we know, right?
from the hillside the heroes quarried and to size cut. To uphold the platform with skyships they carried and emplaced them. With satisfaction did Enlil the handiwork consider. A work beyond belief indeed it was, a structure of everlasting. An abode for himself on the crest of the mountain was his desire. Of the tall trees in the cedar forest long beams were prepared. Of them the construction of abode for himself he decreed. The abode of the north crest he named it. On Nibiru a celestial chariot for soaring off was prepared. New kinds of rocket ships, sky ships, and that which Enki had designed it was transporting. A fresh group of 50 from Nibiru it was taken. Chosen females among them were. By Ninmah, exalted lady, were they commanded. In succor and healing were they trained. Ninmah, exalted lady, a daughter of Anu she was, a half-sister, not a full sister of Enki, and Enlil she was. In succor and healing she was greatly learned. In the treating of ailments she excelled. To
The mother of medicine.
the complaints from earth she gave much attention, a healing was she preparing. The course of prior chariots on tablets of destinies recorded, Nungawit's pilot did follow. Unharmed, it reached the celestial god Lamu. It circled the planet. Slowly to its surface it descended. A faint beaming, a group of heroes followed. Ninmah was going with them. Beside a lake shore, Anzu they found. From his helmet the signals were beaming. Anzu himself was without motion, prostrate. He lay dead. Ninmah touched his face. To his heart she gave attention. From her pouch she took out the pulsar. Upon Anzu's heart, pulsing she directed. From her pouch she took out the emitter. Its crystal's life-giving emissions on his body she directed. 60 times did Ninmah direct the pulsar, 60 times the emitter she directed. On the 60th time Anzu his eyes opened, with his lips he motioned. Gently upon his face Ninmah water of life poured, his lips with it wetting. Gentle into his mouth the food of life she placed. Then the miracle did happen. Anzu from the dead arose.
Miracle, isn't it? This is the first account of somebody being raised from the dead.
About Alelu they him then inquired. Of Alelu's death Anzu them told. He led them to a great rock, from the plain heavenward protruding. There to them what had happened he was telling. Alelu soon after the landing from unremitting pain to scream began. From his mouth his innards he was spitting. In agony he peered over the wall. Thus was Anzu to them saying. He led them to a great rock, like a mountain from the plain heavenward rising. In the great rock a cave I found, Alelu's corpse therein I hid. The entrance with stones I covered, so was Anzu to them saying. They followed him to the rock, the stones they removed, the cave they entered. Inside what of Alelu remained they found. He who once in Nibiru a king was a pile of bones was in a cave now lying.
Okay, so by this time, Alalu had become a pile of bones, apparently.
For the first time in our annals, a king not on Nibiru has died. Not on Nibiru was he buried. So did Ninmah say. Let him in peace for eternity rest, she was saying. They the cave's entrance again with stones covered. The image of Alelu upon the great rock mountain with beams they carved. They showed him wearing an eagle's helmet, his face they made uncovered. Let the image of Alelu forever gaze toward Nibiru that he ruled.
Ever heard about the face on Mars? There's a whole conspiracy about the face on Mars, guys. And then this is telling you how that face on Mars was created. Crazy, right?
Toward the earth, whose goal he discovered. So Ninmah, exalted lady, in the name of her father Anu, did declare. As for you, Anzu, to you Anu the king his promise shall be keeping. 20 heroes with you here shall remain, the way stations building to begin. Rocket ships from earth the golden ores shall here deliver. Celestial chariots from here the gold to Nibiru shall then transport. Hundreds of heroes their abode on Lamu shall make. You, Anzu, shall be their commander. Thus did the great lady, in the name of her father Anu, to Anzu say. My life I owe to you, great lady, so was Anzu saying. My gratitude to Anu shall limits not have. From the planet Lamu the chariot departed. Toward earth the journey it continued.
So we've learned thus far Anu and Alalu having their beef. Anu defeated Alalu. Alalu ran away in shame, came to Earth, found gold, sent back a message demanding that, hey, I'm coming back to be king because I found the gold that's going to save the planet. Anu then sends over his sons to take over the operation on Earth. He finally comes to Earth, have another wrestling match with Alelu, beats Alelu in that match. Alelu bites off his balls and gets sick from it and dies on Mars. He's buried on Mars, and then the great lady ordered the carving of his feast on the planet facing Nibiru and Earth, etc. So now the great lady, mother of medicine, is on her way to Earth with a bunch of other females who are also good in medicine, good with nursing and all that stuff, to attend to the workers on Earth.
Synopsis of the fifth tablet. Ninmah arrives on Earth with a group of female nurses. She delivers seeds to grow elixir-providing plants. She brings Enlil news of their out-of-wedlock son, Ninurta. In the Abzu, Enki establishes an abode and mining sites. In the Eden, Enlil builds space and other facilities. Nibiruans on Earth number 600. 300 Agigi operate the facilities on Lamu. Exiled for date-raping Sud, Enlil learns of the hidden weapons. Sud becomes Enki's spouse, Ninlil, bears a son, Nanar. Ninmah joins Enki in the Abzu, bears him daughters. Ninki, Enki's spouse, arrives with their son, Marduk. Clans form on Earth as Enki and Enlil beget more sons. Beset by hardships, the Agigi launch a coup against Enlil. Ninurta defeats their leader Anzu in aerial battles. The Anunnaki, driven to produce gold faster, mutiny. Enlil and Ninurta denounce the mutineers. Enki suggests to artificially fashion primitive workers. From the planet...
Alright, so now we're going to get into where they created the Adamu, or where they created Adam. So let's dive right into it. This is the creation story, guys.
Enki suggests to artificially fashion primitive workers. From the planet Lamu, the chariot departed. Toward Earth the journey it continued. Around the moon they made circuits, a way station thereon to explore. Around the Earth they made circuits toward a splashdown slowing. In the waters beside Eridu did Nangal the chariot bring down. To a quay by Enlil constructed they stepped off. Boats were no longer needed. Enlil and Enki their sister with embraces greeted. With Nangal the pilot they locked arms. The heroes, male and female, by the present heroes were with shouts greeted. All that the chariot had brought was quickly unloaded. Rocket ships and sky ships and the tools by Enki designed, and provisions of all kinds. Of all that on Nibiru transpired, of the death and burying of Alelu, Ninmah her brothers told. Of the way station on Lamu and the commanding by Anzu, she to them related. Enki of that uttered approval. Enlil words of bewilderment uttered. That is Anu's decision. His word is unalterable, Ninmah to Enlil was saying.
And if you're just joining the stream, guys, let me say welcome. This is the Rasta Ren Reads stream, where we deep dive into the deep dark depths of the truth. The information I find, I bring it forward. We examine it together. And if you think it's misrepresented, or you have a different opinion, or whatever you want to say, you say it in the comments, guys. Let's lively up the chat. Share this with somebody who's interested in this kind of hidden information. All right. It's Rasta Ren _876 on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, and Rasta Ren 876 on Facebook.
For the malady's relief I have brought, Ninmah to her brothers said. From her pouch a bag of seeds she brought out, seeds in the soil to be sown. A host of bushes from the seed shall sprout, a juicy fruit they will produce. The juice an elixir shall form, for drinking by the heroes it shall be good. Their ailments it will chase away, happier their mood it shall make. In a cool place the seeds need to be sown, by warmth and water need they nourishing. So did Ninmah to her brothers say. The place that for this is perfect I will to you show, Enlil to her said. It is where the landing place was fashioned, where an abode of cedar wood I have made. In Enlil's skyship the two of them, Enlil and Ninmah, skyward soared. To the landing place in the snow-covered mountains by the cedar forest, brother and sister went. On the great stone platform the skyship landed. To Enlil's abode they went. Once inside, Enlil embraced her. With favor he kissed Ninmah. "O my sister, my beloved," Enlil to her whispered. By her loins he grabbed her. Into her womb his semen he did not pour. "Of our son Ninurta word I bring you," Ninmah to him softly said.
So this guy had sex with his sister, but he didn't get her pregnant.
"A young prince he is, for adventure he is ready. To join you on earth he is prepared. If here you stay, let us Ninurta our son bring over," Enlil to her said. To the landing place heroes were arriving, rocket ships by skyships to the platform they carried. From the pouch of Ninmah the seeds were obtained, in the valley's soil they were sown, a fruit from Nibiru on earth to be grown. In the skyship Enlil and Ninmah to Eridu returned. On the way Enlil to her the landscape showed, the Eden's extent to her he showed. From the skies Enlil to her his plans explained. "An everlasting plan have I designed," to her he was saying. "That which for all time construction shall determine I have laid out. Away from Eridu, where dry land begins, my quarters shall be. Larsa will be its name, a place for directing it shall become. On the banks of the Baranu, the river of deep waters, it will be located."
So basically a command center. He's saying, I'm going to set up a command center out here.
"A twin thereof a city shall in future arise, Lagash I shall name it. Between the two on the plains a line have I drawn. 60 leagues thereafter a hilling city shall come into being. A city of your own city it shall be leading. Nibruki, earth's crossing place I will name it. A bond heaven-earth in it I shall establish. The tablets of destinies it shall house. All missions it will control."
Yep. Mission control center in the center of the earth, basically.
"With Eridu 5 cities there shall be counted. To eternity they shall exist." On a crystal tablet Enlil to Ninmah the master plan was showing. On the tablet she saw more markings. Of them of Enlil she inquired. "Beyond the 5 cities a chariot place I shall henceforth build. From Nibiru to earth directly to arrive." Enlil to her was responding. Why by Anu's plans for Lamu Enlil was bewildered, Ninmah then understood. "My brother, magnificent is your plan for the 5 cities," to him Ninmah was saying. "The creation of Shurabak, a city for healing, as my abode for my own to be, is a matter for which grateful I am. Beyond that plan, do not transgress your father. Your brother too do not offend. You are wise as well as beautiful," Enlil to her said. In the Abzu, Enki plans was also conceiving, where to build his house, where for heroes dwelling to prepare, where the bowels of the earth to enter. In his skyship the extent of the Abzu he measured, its districts he did carefully survey. A distant land the Abzu was, beyond the waters from the Eden it was away. A rich land it was, bursting with riches, perfect in fullness. Mighty rivers rushed across the region, great waters there rapidly flowed. An abode by the flowing waters Enki for himself established. To the midst of the Abzu, to a place of pure waters Enki betook himself. In that land, the place of deepness, Enki determined for the heroes into earth's bowels to descend. The earth sputter Enki there established, therewith in the earth a gash to make, by way of tunnels earth's innards to reach, the golden veins to uncover.
So this is where Enki decided, hey, I'm going to establish my abode here. We're going to find a spot where we can dig in, crack into the gold veins and start mining.
Nearby, that which crunches and that which crushes he emplaced, the gold-bearing ores to crunch and crush by skyships to be carried, to the landing place in the Cedar Mountains to be brought, therefrom by rocket ships to the way station on Lamu to be transported.
Okay.
On Earth, more heroes were arriving. Some to the Eden were assigned. Some in the Abzu task were given. Larsa and Lagash by Enlil were constructed. Shurabak for Ninmah he did establish. With her therein a host of female healers were dwelling, young ones who give succor. In Nibruki, Enlil, a bond heaven-earth was assembling, from there all missions to command. Between Eridu and the Abzu, Enki was journeying, back and forth for supervising he went. On Lamu, construction was progressing. Heroes from the way station were also arriving. A shar, 2 shars were the preparations lasting. Then Anu gave the word. On earth the 7th day it was, a day of resting by Enki at the beginning decreed. At every place the heroes were assembled, a message from Anu from Nibiru beam they overheard.
So basically they're communicating by wireless technology here.
In the Eden they were assembled. Enlil was there in command. With him was Ninmah. Her host of young ones by her side were assembled. Elagar, who of Eridu was the master, was there. Abgal, who the landing place commanded, also stood. In the Abzu were the heroes assembled. Under the gaze of Enki they stood. With Enki was his vizier Izamud. Nungal, the pilot, was there too. On Lamu the heroes were assembled. With their proud commander Anzu they stood. 600 were on earth, 300 on Lamu were gathered. In all there were 900. The words of Anu the king they all heard. Heroes of Nibiru, you are the saviors. The fate of all is in your hands. Your success shall for eternity be recorded. By glorious names you shall be called. Those who on earth are shall as Anunnaki be known. Those who from heaven to earth came. Those who on Lamu are, Igigi shall be named. Those who observe and see they shall be.
So this is Anu declaring, hey, if you're on Mars, I'll call you an Igigi. If you're on Earth, I'll call you an Anunnaki. Okay, that is to establish the difference of where your station is and what your role is in this whole mission.
All that is required is ready. Let the gold start coming. Let Nibiru be saved. Now, this is the account of Enki and Enlil and Ninmah, their loves and espousals, and by their sons the rivalries. Offspring of Anu, the 3 leaders were. By different mothers were they born. Enki was the firstborn son. A concubine of Anu was his mother. Enlil by Antu, the spouse of Anu, was born. The legal heir he thus became. Ninmah by another concubine was mothered. A half-sister of the 2 half-brothers she was. The firstborn daughter of Anu she was. By her name title Ninmah this was indicated. Greatly beautiful she was, full of wisdom, one quick to learn. Ea, as Enki then was named by Anu to espouse Ninmah, was chosen. Thereby their offspring son the legal successor thereafter to become. Ninmah of Enlil, a dashing commander, was enamored. By him she was seduced. Into her womb his seed he poured. A son from Enlil's seed she bore. Ninurta, the 2 have named him. By the deed was Anu angered. As punishment he, Ninmah, ever to be a spouse forbade. Ea, his bride-to-be, by Anu's decree abandoned. A princess named Damkina he instead espoused. A son, an heir to them, was born. Marduk they named him. One in a pure place born, it meant. As for Enlil, a son not by his spousal he had, a spouse by his side to be he did not have. It was on earth, not on Nibiru, that Enlil became espoused. The account of that is one of rape and exile and love that brought forgiveness.
So, the drama unfolds. What I'm gathering here, Anu is father to Enlil, Enki, and Ninmah. Okay? Anu declared Enki would have married Ninmah. Enlil seduced her, get her pregnant, and then Enki had to abandon that mission. find himself a different woman to espouse. Okay? Now, bear in mind, Enlil did not espouse Ninmah. He only got her pregnant, made her into a single mom. Okay? Which is why Enki would have been disgusted, because, again, as you can see, the whole single mother scenario is playing out here. Okay, so now Marduk, who is Enki's son, born on Nibiru, right? And then Enlil, and Ninmah had Ninurta. It's their son. That's so. Ninurta born out of marriage. Marduk born in marriage. So according to the laws of Nibiru, after Enki, Marduk would be next in line for the throne. Okay, so let's follow.
And of more sons that were only half brothers. On earth it was summer. To his abode in the cedar forest Enlil retreated. In the cedar forest was Enlil walking in the cool of the day. In a cool mountain stream some of Ninmah's young ones, to the landing place assigned, were bathing. By the beauty and grace of one, Sud was her name, Enlil was enchanted. To his cedar wood abode Enlil her invited. Come, partake with me in the elixir of Nibiru's fruit that grew here. So to her he said. Sud into Enlil's abode entered. The elixir in a cup to her Enlil presented. Sud drank, Enlil drank too. To her Enlil of intercourse was speaking. Unwilling was the lass. My vagina is too little, it knows not copulation to Enlil, she was saying. To her Enlil of kissing was speaking. Unwilling was the lass. My lips are too small, they know not kissing to Enlil, she was saying. Enlil laughed and embraced her. He laughed and he kissed her. His semen into her womb he poured. To Ninmah, Sud's commander, the immoral deed was reported. Enlil, immoral one, for your deed judgment you shall face. So did Ninmah to Enlil in anger say. In the presence of 50 Anunnaki, 7 who judge were assembled. 7 who judge on Enlil a punishment decreed.
So Enlil, the commander of the mission, out here assaulting, and now he's being judged for his assault. Okay. This is crazy.
Let Enlil from all cities be banished. To a land of no return let him exiled be. In a sky chamber they made Enlil leave the landing place. Abgal was its pilot. To a land of no return Enlil was taken, never to return. In the sky chamber the two of them journeyed. To another land was their direction. There, amidst forbidding mountains, a place of desolation, Abgal, the sky chamber, landed. This your place of exile shall be, Abgal to Enlil was saying. Not perchance have I it chosen, to Enlil he was saying. A secret of Enki in it is hidden. In the nearby cave Enki 7 weapons of terror has hidden. From Alelu's celestial chariot he had them removed. Take the weapons into your possession. With the weapons your freedom attain.
So Abgal is out here committing treason. Abgal is out here betraying the powers that be. I mean, he's charged with locking the guy up, or bringing the guy to his place of isolation, and he consciously chose the spot where Enki had previously hid the weapons of mass destruction, to take this guy to say, hey, this is where you're gonna be in isolation. In fact, a matter of fact, there's 7 atomic bombs hidden in that cave over there. Use them and, free yourself out of this isolation. Bruh. Crazy, right?
So was Abgal to his commander saying. A secret of Enki to Enlil he did reveal. Then from the secret place Abgal departed. Enlil alone was there left. In the Eden, Sud to Ninmah her commander words was speaking. By Enlil's seed am I pregnant. A child of Enlil in my womb has been conceived. Ninmah Sud's words to Enki conveyed. The lord of earth he was, on earth he was supreme. They summoned Sud before 7 who judge. Will you take Enlil as your spouse, they her ask. Words of consent she uttered. The words by Abgal to Enlil in his exile were conveyed. To espouse Sud, Enlil from his exile was returned. By that did Enki and Ninmah to him a pardon give. Enlil's official spouse Sud was declared.
Okay. So this guy, after assaulting Sud, the judges gather and be like, okay, so, I mean, it's not a good thing that happened, but, I mean, he was your first. Do you want to just take him as your lawfully wedded husband? And she agreed. So the guy was pardoned and taken out of exile.
On her the name title Ninlil, Lady of the Command, was bestowed. Thereafter to Ninlil and Enlil a son was born, Nanner, the Bright One. Ninlil him named. He was the first of the Anunnaki on earth to be conceived, one of Nibiru's royal seed on an alien planet to be born. It was after that Enki to Ninmah was speaking. Come be with me in the Abzu. In the midst of the Abzu, in a place of pure waters, an abode have I established. With a bright metal, silver is its name, it is embellished. With a deep blue stone, lapis lazuli, it is adorned. Come, Ninmah, be with me. Your adoration of Enlil abandon. To the Abzu, to the abode of Enki, Ninmah then journeyed. Enki there to her words of loving spoke, of how for each other intended sweet words to her he whispered.
So this guy playing the field with Ninmah. Because after all that happened, I mean, think about it, right? Ninmah was supposed to be his spouse back on Nibiru. She went and got pregnant for Enlil, became a single mom. Now she's here on Earth, and she pretty as fuck. So he's like, yo, you know you're pretty and all that shit, and we were supposed to be like, you know, together back on Nibiru. You know what I mean? How about we make a little something happen here on Earth? Yo, let's do this.
You are still my beloved, to her he said, caressing. He embraced her, he kissed her, she caused his phallus to water. Enki his semen into the womb of Ninmah poured. Give me a son, he cried out. She took the semen into her womb, the semen of Enki her impregnated. 1 day of Nibiru was a month of earth for her. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days of Nibiru like months of earth they were. 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 days of months were completed. The 9th count of motherhood was completed. Ninmah was in travail. To a child she gave birth. The newborn was a female. On the banks of the river in the Abzu, a daughter to Enki and Ninmah was born. Enki by a daughter was disappointed.
So this guy got a daughter from the same woman his brother got a son with when they lived on Nibiru. Crazy.
Kiss the young one to him, Ninmah said. Kiss the young one, Enki to his vizier Izamud said. A son I desired. A son by my half-sister I must have. Again he kissed Ninmah. By her loins he grabbed her. His semen into her womb he poured. Again she was with child. Again a daughter to Enki she bore. A son by you I must have, Enki to her cried out. Ninmah he kissed again. Thereupon Ninmah against Enki a cursing tittered. Whatever food he ate was poison in his innards. His jaw hurt, his tooth hurt, his ribs were hurting. Izamud the Anunnaki summoned to Ninmah for relief they were pleading. To distance himself from Ninmah's vulva, Enki by raised arms swore.
So this guy trying so hard to get a son, he's literally dried up. Literally getting dried up. and raising his hand and swear not to venture into that vagina ever again.
One by one, she his ailments removed, from her curse Enki was freed. To the Eden Nimma returned, never to be espoused. Anu's command was fulfilled. To earth Enki his spouse Damkina with her son Marduk summoned. Ninki, Lady of Earth, the title she was granted. By her, and by concubines, Enki 5 more sons had.
So this guy's like, yo, I got 3 daughters from this woman. I don't want her vagina anymore. Get me my wife from Nibiru, okay? Damkina was renamed Ninki, and by her and other concubines, he got 5 sons, 5 more sons, other than Marduk. So Marduk now has 5 little brothers and 3 little sisters that we know of.
Were their names, Nergal and Gibel, Ninegal and Ningizida and Dumuzi, the youngest. To earth Enlil and Nimma their son Ninurta summoned. By his spouse Ninlil did Enlil 1 more son have. To Nanar a full brother, Ishkur was his name. 3 sons in all did Enlil have, none by concubines were they born. 2 clans were thus on earth established. Their rivalries to wars did lead. Now this is the account of the mutiny of the Agigi, and how Anzu to death was put for stealing the tablets of destinies punished. From the Abzu, gold from earth's veins to the landing place was carried, thence Igigi in rocket ships to the way station on Lamu transported.
Remember, the Igigi guys are the same Nibiru ones who are now living on Mars, controlling that way station that delivers the gold from Earth through Mars and the other way stations to the planet Nibiru.
From the planet Lamu in celestial chariots was the precious metal to Nibiru brought. On Nibiru the gold was to the finest dust fashioned to protect the atmosphere it was employed. Slowly was the breach in the heavens healing, slowly was Nibiru saved. In the Eden the 5 cities were perfected. Enki in Eridu a sparkling abode made, upon soil skyward raised he built it. Like a mountain he raised it above the ground, in a good place he built it. Damkina his spouse therein dwelt. To his son Marduk Enki was their wisdom teaching.
So Marduk, he's now teaching everything he knows to his first son Marduk.
In Nibruki, Enlil the bond heaven-earth established, a sight to see it was. At its center a heavenward tall pillar the sky itself was reaching. On a platform that cannot be overturned it was placed. Therewith the words of Enlil all settlements encompassed. On Lamu and in Nibiru they were heard.
So this tower that he built is basically like the command center where he beams out all his commands and messages, etc., etc.
From there beams were raised, the heart of all the lands they could search. Its eyes could scan all the lands, its net unwanted approach impossible made.
So kind of like a radar system where it's constantly scanning the environment and you can know if somebody's approaching, etc.
In its lofty house a crown-like chamber was the center. To distant heavens it peered. Toward the horizon was its gaze, the heavenly sceneth it perfected. In its dark hallowed chamber by 12 emblems was the family of the sun marked. On Mies were the secret formulas of sun and moon, Nibiru and earth, and 8 celestial gods recorded. The tablets of destinies in the chamber their hues emitted. With them Enlil all comings and goings oversaw.
So kind of like an electronic way of keeping the logs of all the traveling and the transportation of the metals and all that stuff.
On earth the Anunnaki toiled. Of work and sustenance they were complaining. By earth's quick cycles they were disturbed. Of the elixir they only small rations were given. In the Eden the Anunnaki toiled. In the Abzu the work was more backbreaking. By teams were Anunnaki sent back to Nibiru, by teams new ones were arriving. The Agigi on Lamu dwelling were the loudest in complaining. When from Lamu to earth they descend, a rest place on earth they were demanding. With Anu did Enlil and Enki words exchange, the king they consulted. Let the leader come to earth, with Anzu have discussions, so did Anu to them say.
So Anu is making an excuse to come back to earth.
Anzu to earth from the heavens descended, the words of complaints to Enlil and Enki he delivered. Let Anzu of the workings gain understanding, Enki to Enlil was saying. I will the Abzu to him show, you the bond heaven earth to him reveal. To the words of Enki, Enlil consented.
And if you're just joining the stream, guys, the last book of Enki is basically a compilation of ancient Sumerian tablets. Zachariah Sitchin did the work of compiling these tablets, canonizing these tablets, and then rewriting everything in the first person perspective. It's the most comprehensive, detailed explanation of prehistoric Earth, basically, before the creation of what we call the Homo sapien. And I think this tablet towards the end is going to get into the creation of the Homo sapien.
Enki to Anzu the Abzu did show, the toil in the mines to him he presented. Enlil Anzu to Nibruki invited, to the hallowed dark chamber he let him enter. In the innermost sanctuary the tablets of destinies to Anzu he explained. What the Anunnaki in the 5 cities were doing to Anzu was shown. To the Igigi who at the landing place were arriving relief he promised. To discuss the complaints of the Igigi he to Nibruki then returned.
And these 5 cities, guys, were established here on our planet. One in the north, one in the center, one in the east, one in the west, and the Abzu in the south.
A prince among the princes was Anzu. Of royal seed his ancestry he counted. Evil thoughts filled his heart when to the bond heaven earth he returned. To take away the tablets of destinies was he scheming.
Okay. So now he's trying to disarm disenfranchise the command center. So he's trying to, take out basically the database and all that shit, so the command center would be dysfunctional.
Of the decrees of heaven and earth to take control in his heart he was planning. The removal of the Enlilship in his heart he conceived. To rule Igigi and Anunnaki was his aim. Unsuspecting, Enlil at the entrance to the sanctuary Anzu let be stationed.
Enlilship, guys, remember the word Enlil means commander of earth.
Unsuspecting Enlil left the sanctuary. For a cooling swim he went away. With evil purpose Anzu the tablets of destinies seized. In a sky chamber he flew away. To the mountain of the sky chambers he swiftly went. There, in the landing place, rebellious Igigi for him were waiting. To declare Anzu king of earth and Lamu, they were preparing. In the sanctuary of Nibruki the brilliance petered out, the humming quieted down, silence in the place prevailed.
So basically, once he took out the tablets of destiny, it's basically like he's taking out the entire power source, the entire brains of the system.
Suspended were the sacred formulas. In Nibruki, Enlil was speechless. By the treachery he was overwhelmed. To Enki angry words he spoke. Of the ancestry of Anzu he him questioned. In Nibruki the leaders gathered. The Anunnaki who decree fates with Anu were consulting. Anzu must be seized. The tablets to the sanctuary must be returned. Thus did Anu decree. Who shall the rebel face? Who shall the tablets retrieve? The leaders ask each other. With the tablets of destinies in his possession, invincible is Anzu, to each other they were saying. Ninurta, by his mother encouraged, from the assembled stepped forward. Enlil's warrior I shall be, Anzu I shall vanquish, thus was Ninurta saying. To the mountainside Ninurta set his course, to vanquish the fugitive Anzu he undertook. Anzu from his hideout Ninurta was mocking. The tablets are my protection, invincible I am. Lightning darts Ninurta at Anzu directed. The arrows could not approach Anzu. Backward they turned. The battle was stilled. Ninurta's weapons Anzu did not vanquish.
So basically, guys, lightnings and all that shit, they're basically saying these are like electromagnetic weapons they're using. You know what I mean? Some of it is electronic, some of it is lasers, some of it is like atomic bombs and shit like that. So we have to follow the description, because a lot of it is simplistic description. But once you think about what the description is, you realize the type of weapons it's talking about.
Enki then to Ninurta counsel gave. With your whirlwind stir up a storm, let the dust cover Anzu's face, let it the wings of his skybird ruffle. For his son Enlil a mighty weapon fashioned, a Tilu missile it was. To your stormer weapon attach it, when wing to wing near at Anzu shoot it. Thus did Enlil his son Ninurta instruct.
So this is a battle in the air, guys.
When wing to wing near each other, let the missile fly as a lightning. Again Ninurta in his whirlwind soared. Anzu against him in the skybird rose to challenge. Wing to wing Anzu in anger shouted, "This battle will be your destruction." Ninurta the advice of Enki followed. With his whirlwind a dust storm he created. The dust Anzu's face covered, the pinions of his skybird were exposed. Into their midst Ninurta the missile let loose, a fiery brilliance Anzu's pinions engulfed. Like butterflies his wings began to flutter, to the ground Anzu came falling. The earth shook, the skies became darkened. The fallen Anzu Ninurta made captive, from him the tablets he retrieved.
Alright, so you take him down using the strategy that was suggested and take the tablets back.
From the mountaintop the Igigi were watching. When to the landing place Ninurta came, they trembled and kissed his feet. Ninurta, the captive Abgal and Anunnaki set free. To Anu and Enlil his victory he announced. To Nibruki he then returned. In its innermost chamber the tablets were reinstalled. Once again the brilliance therein returned. The hum of Mies in the tablets was restored. Before the seven who judge, Anzu for a judgment was taken.
And the Mies is like magnetic energy.
Enlil and Ninlil his spouse, Enki and his spouse Ninki, the one beforehand as Damkina known, and the sons Nanar and Marduk were there. Nimma also was in judging. Ninurta of the evil deeds spoke. There was no justification. Let death be the penalty, he said. The Igigi by right were complaining. A rest place on earth they do need, Marduk in counter argued. By his evil deed all the Anunnaki and Igigi Anzu did endanger, Enlil said. Enki and Ninma with Enlil agreed. The evil must be extinguished, they said. To death by execution the seven judged Anzu. With a killing ray Anzu's life breath was extinguished. Let his body to the vultures be left, Ninurta said. Let him on Lamu be buried, in a cave next to Alelu be laid to rest, Enki was saying. From the same ancestral seed the two of them were. Let Marduk the body to Lamu carry, let Marduk there as commander stay. So was Enki to the judges suggesting. Let it so be, Enlil said. Now this is the account of how Bad Tibera, the metal city, was established.
So Marduk is now given command of Mars.
And how in the 40th Shar the Anunnaki and the Abzu mutinied. In the 25th Shar was Anzu judged and executed. The unrest of the Igigi it subdued but left it simmering. To Lamu Marduk was sent, the spirits of the Igigi to raise, to their well-being pay attention. On earth the changes were by Enlil and Enki discussed to avoid unrest on earth they were considering. The stays on earth are too prolonged, to each other they were saying. Nimma for counsel they asked. By her changing visage they were alarmed. Gold to Nibiru must more quickly flow. Salvation must be faster provided, they all agreed. Ninurta in the innards of planets learned was he. To his elders words of wisdom he was saying. Let a metal city be established, therein the gold ores to be smelted and refined. Therefrom less weighty cargoes from earth shall be lofted. Each rocket ship more gold could carry, room for Anunnaki to Nibiru return there shall be.
So basically he's suggesting, yo, look, let's establish a place where we can actually refine the gold before we actually ship it out. You know what I mean? Because that way we can send more, we'll have more space for people to return home and stuff like that.
Prior to Nibiru return, let fresh ones them on earth replace. Enlil and Enki and Ninmah of Ninurta's suggestion were in favor. Anu was consulted and his approval gave. In the Eden was the metal city planned. On that location Enlil did insist. With materials from Nibiru was it constructed. With tools from Nibiru was it equipped. 3 shars the construction lasted. Bad Tibera was its name given. Ninurta, who made the suggestion, was its first commander. The flow of gold to Nibiru was thereby eased and quickened. Those who to Earth and Lamu at the beginning of the prior times had come, to Nibiru were returning. Al-Algar and Abgal and Nungal among them were. The newcomers who them replaced were younger and eager to the cycles of Earth and Lamu, and the other rigors they were not accustomed. On Nibiru, whence they had come, the breach in the atmosphere was healing. The great calamities on the planet and in its heavens the younger ones did not know. Of their golden mission, excitement, and adventure they especially cherished. As by Ninurta conceived, the ores from the Abzu were delivered. In Bad Tibera they were smelted and refined. By rocket ships to Lamu they were sent. In celestial chariots from Lamu to Nibiru was the pure gold delivered. As by Ninurta conceived, from the Abzu to Nibiru the gold flowed. What was not conceived was unrest by the new-coming Anunnaki, who in the Abzu toiled. Truth be said, Enki to what was brewing heed was not given. To other matters in the Abzu his attention was directing. With that which in the Abzu grows and lives, fascination he acquired. Of the differences between what on earth and what on Nibiru appeared, he wished to learn.
So instead of paying attention to his mission in the Abzu, Enki is now paying attention to the foliage and the animal life and shit, and comparing that to what he knows from his planet. Now, I mean, he's learning as much as he can about the life forms that he's encountering.
How maladies by Earth's cycles and atmosphere were caused, he wished to uncover. In the Abzu, by the gushing waters, a wondrous study place he erected. With all manners of tools and equipment he furnished it. House of Life he called the place. To it his son Ningazita he invited. Sacred formulas, tiny me's, the secrets of life and death possessing they shaped. The mysteries of living and dying of Earth's creatures they to unravel sought. With some living creatures Enki was especially enamored. They lived among the tall trees, their front legs as hands they were using. In the tall grasses of the steppes, odd creatures were seen, erect they seemed to be walking.
So he has a whole thing where he's studying these animals that are walking erect and using their 4 legs as arms. Basically, what we're looking at here is some form of hominid. Some kind of Homo erectus.
Absorbed was Enki in those studies. What was among the Anunnaki brewing he noticed not. First to notice trouble was Ninurta. A lessening of gold ores at Bad Tibera he observed. By Enlil was Ninurta to the Abzu dispatched. What was ongoing to discover. By Inugi, the chief officer, to the excavations he was accompanied. Complaints of the Anunnaki he with his own ears heard. They were backbiting and lamenting. In the excavations they were grumbling. Unbearable is the toil. To Ninurta they were saying. Ninurta this to his uncle Enki reported. Let us Enlil summon, Enki said. Enlil in the Abzu arrived. In a house near the excavations he was stationed. Let us unnerve Enlil in his dwelling, mine-working heroes shouted. Of the heavy work let him relieve us. Let us proclaim war, with hostilities let us gain relief, others shouted. The Anunnaki in the excavations the words of incitement heeded. To their tools they set fire, fire to their axes they put. They troubled Inugi, chief officer of the mining, in the tunnels they him seized. They held him as they went, to the doorway of Enlil's dwelling they made their way. It was night, halfway through the watch it was. Enlil's dwelling they surrounded, their tools as torches they high held. Calcal, the gateway's guardian, bolted the door, and Nusku aroused. Nusku, Enlil's vizier, roused his lord, got him out of bed, thus saying, "My lord, your house is surrounded. Battling Anunnaki to your gate came up."
So everyone is outside, pretty much protesting, using their tools as torches and weapons and shit. Protesting that, yo, look, the work is way too hard, nigga.
Enlil summoned Enki. Enlil Ninurta summoned to his presence. "What do my own eyes see? Is it against me that this thing is done?" Thus was Enlil to them saying. "Who is of the hostilities the instigator?" The Anunnaki stood together. "Every single one of us hostilities has declared, excessive is the toil, our work is heavy, great is the distress." So they were to Enlil saying. Words of the happenings Enlil to Anu beamed. "Of what is Enlil accused?" Anu inquired. "The work, not Enlil, is the trouble causing," Enki to Anu was saying. "The lamentation is heavy, every day the complaints we could hear. The gold must be obtained," Anu was saying. "The work must continue. Release Anugi for consultations," Enlil to the hostile Anunnaki said. Anugi was released. To the leaders he was thus saying, "Ever since Earth's heat has been rising, the toil is excruciating, unbearable it is. Let the rebels to Nibiru return. Let new ones come in their stead," Ninurta said. "Perchance new tools you can fashion," Enlil to Enki said, "for the Anunnaki heroes the tunnels to avoid. Let us summon my son Ningazita, counsel with hire I wish to take." Enki thus responded. They summoned Ningazita from the house of life he came. With him Enki huddled, words amongst them they exchanged. "A solution is possible," Enki was saying. "Let us create a Lulu, a primitive worker, the hardship work to take over. Let the being the toil of the Anunnaki carry on his back."
A solution is possible. Let us create a Lulu, a primitive worker, to take over the hardship of, bending their back and carrying the load and all that shit.
Astounded were the besieged leaders, speechless indeed they were. Who ever heard of a being afresh created, a worker who the Anunnaki's work can do? They summoned Ninmah, one who of healing and succor was much knowing. Enki's words to her they repeated. "Who ever of such a thing heard?" they her asked. "The task is unheard of," she to Enki said. "All beings from a seed have descended, one being from another over eons did develop, none from nothing ever came." "How right you are, my sister," Enki said, smiling. "A secret of the Abzu let me to you all reveal. The being that we need, it already exists. All that we have to do is put on it the mark of our essence. Thereby a Lulu, a primitive worker, shall be created," so did Enki to them say. "Let us hereby a decision make, a blessing to my plan give, to create a primitive worker, by the mark of our essence to fashion him."
In other words, come let us make man in our own image and in our own likeness. Let me know if you're enjoying the knowledge, guys. I know it's a lot of new information, and it's sometimes hard to keep up based on the names and the whole thing and the whole story being, jumping from one scene to the next. But if we follow the story, we realize that Enki, Enlil, Anu, Marduk, Ningizida, Ninurta, and all these people came from a different planet, came here on a mission looking for gold to save their planet, and upon discovering the gold here, establishing settlements here on Earth, it came to be where two brothers ended up having two families opposing each other, and it's gonna get into a whole lot of mix-up and a whole lot of drama. So, and if you're just joining the stream, guys, welcome to the Rasta Ren Reads. This is where we read books of different knowledge, different hidden knowledge, where we deep dive into the dark depths of the truth that's been hidden from us in plain sight most of the times. So if you know anybody who likes this kind of information, feel free to share, feel free to subscribe, feel free to follow. In fact, guys, find me on YouTube, Rasta Ren _876. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell. You know what I mean? I'm trying to build that channel. We're only at a little over 400 subs. You know what I mean? So your assistance in getting the subs up on my YouTube channel, guys, is highly appreciated. Again, you find me over on YouTube, Rasta Ren _876. Alright, go ahead and subscribe. Let's try to get the channel to 500 subs today, guys. You know what I mean? So if you're seeing this for the first time, we're at 410 subscribers as I speak. Go ahead and head on over to YouTube, Rasta Ren _876. Hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll know when I'm uploading new content. Without further ado, let's dive right into tablet number 6 of the Lost Book of Enki. And the Lost Book of Enki is a compilation of different Sumerian tablets, guys. Zachariah Sitchin did the work of compiling, canonizing, and rewriting the entire thing in the first person perspective. So here we go. We're on to tablet number 6. Tablet number 6 of 14 tablets. We're gonna do tablet 6 and 7 today, and then next Sunday, or maybe tomorrow, we go through the other 7 tablets.
Synopsis of the 6th tablet. To the incredulous leadership, Enki reveals a secret. In the Abzu, there roams a wild being akin to the Anunnaki. By augmenting its life essence with that of the Anunnaki, it can be upgraded to be an intelligent primitive worker. Creation belongs to the Father of all beginning, Enlil shouted. We will give our image only to an existing being, Ninmah argued. Badly needing gold to survive, the leaders vote yes. Enki, Ninmah, and Ningishzida, Enki's son, begin experiments. After many failures, the perfect model, Adamu, is attained. Ninmah shouts triumphantly, "My..."
And why does the term Adamu sound so much like Adam?
hands have made it. She is renamed Ninti, Lady of Life, for her achievement. Ninki, Enki's spouse, helps fashion Tiamat, a female earthling. The earthlings, being hybrids, mate but do not procreate. Ningishzida adds 2 essence branches to their life tree. Discovering the unapproved ongoings, Enlil expels the earthlings. To create a primitive worker by the mark of our essence to fashion him. So was Enki to the leaders, saying, the being that we need, it already exists. Thus did Enki to them a secret of the Abzu reveal. With astonishment did the other leaders Enki's words hear. By the words they were fascinated. Creatures in the Abzu there are, Enki was saying, that walk erect on 2 legs. Their 4 legs they use as arms, with hands they are provided. Among the animals of the steppe they live, they know not dressing in garments. They eat plants with their mouths, they drink water from lake and ditch. Shaggy with hair is their whole body, their head hair is like a lion's. With gazelles they jostle, with teeming creatures in the waters they delight. The leaders of Enki's words with amazement listened.
So this is describing some kind of hominid, maybe a Homo erectus, or probably a Neanderthal, I don't know.
No creature like that has ever in the Eden been seen, Enlil disbelieving said. Eons ago on Nibiru, our predecessors like that might have been, Nimma was saying. It is a being, not a creature. Nimma was saying, to behold, it must be a thrill. To the house of life, Inky led them. In strong cages there were some of the beings. At the sight of Inky and the others, they jumped up, with fists on the cage bars they were beating. They were grunting and snorting, no words were they speaking. Male and female they are, Inky was saying, malehoods and femalehoods they have. Like us, from Nibiru coming they are procreating. Ningizida, my son, their fashioning essence has tested. Akin to ours it is, like two serpents it is entwined. With our life essence shall be combined, our mark upon them shall be.
Like two serpents intertwined, that life essence, guys, is basically talking about their DNA. Okay, so this guy had already decoded the DNA and have the information and saying, hey, look, their DNA is a lot similar to ours. We can merge our DNA with theirs to create a different being.
A primitive worker shall be created. Our commands will he understand. Our tools he will handle. The toil in the excavations he shall perform. To the Anunnaki in the Abzu relief shall come. So was Inky with enthusiasm saying, with excitements his words came forth. Enlil at the words was hesitating. The matter is one of great importance. On our planet, slavery has long ago been abolished. Tools are the slaves, not other beings. A new creature beforehand, non-existing, you wish to bring into being. Creation in the hands of the Father of all beginning alone is held. So was Enlil in opposing, saying, stern were his words.
So Enlil is in opposition to creating this primitive worker, quote unquote. He's saying, yo, look, slavery has long been abolished. We now use our slaves to do we now use tools instead of slaves to do work for us. You know what I mean? And a matter of fact, we're not the creator of all, so why are we trying to create a new being?
Inky to his brother responded, not slaves, but helpers in my plan. The being already exists, Nimma was saying. To give more ability is the plan. Not a new creature, but one existing more in our image made, Inky with persuasion said. With little change, it can be achieved. Only a drop of our essence is needed.
Again, come, let us make man in our own image and in our own likeness.
A grave matter it is not to my liking, Enlil was saying. Against the rules of from planet to planet journeying it is. By the rules to earth coming it was forbidden. To obtain gold was our purpose. To replace the Father of all beginning it was not. After Enlil thus had spoken, Ninmah was the one to respond. My brother, Ninmah to Enlil was saying, with wisdom and understanding has the Father of all beginning us endowed. To what purpose have we been so perfected, else of it utmost us to make?
So she arguing that, hey, if the creator of all endowed us with so much knowledge, I mean, why not use it to the best of our ability?
With wisdom and understanding has the creator of all our life essence filled to whatever using of it we are capable. It is not that for which we have been destined. So was Nimba, words to her brother Enlil directing. With that, which in our essence was granted, tools and chariots we have perfected, mountains with terror weapons we shattered, skies with gold we are healing. So was Ninurta to his birth-giving mother saying, let us with wisdom new tools fashion, not new beings create. Let by new equipments, not by slave beings, the toil be relieved. Whereto our understanding does us lead, to that which we have been destined. So was Ningazita saying, with Inky and Ninmah he in agreement was. What knowledge we possess, its use cannot be prevented, Ningazita was saying. Destiny indeed cannot be altered. From the beginning to the end it has been determined. To them Enlil was thus saying, destiny it is, or fate it is, that to this planet us has brought to gold from the water's foil, to put Anunnaki heroes to excavating toil, to a primitive worker create to be planning. That, my kinfolk, is the question. Thus with graveness Enlil was saying. Is it
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, right? And Frederick, I see you in the comments. Right. Again, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. They're not the creators of all, which is what they're contemplating, that, hey, we're not the creators of all. We're not the almighty creator. I mean, we're adding our DNA to this being to create a new being. They're creating a being that never existed before. They're creating the Adamu. Again, come, let us make man in our own image and in our own likeness, right? Let's continue.
Is it destiny? Is it fate? That is what deciding requires. Is it from the beginning ordained or by us for choosing? To put the matter before Anu, they decided. Anu, before the council, the matter presented. The elders, the savants, the commanders were consulted. Long and bitter the discussions were of life and death, fate and destiny, words were spoken. Can there be another way the gold to obtain? Survival is in danger. If gold must be obtained, let the being be fashioned, the council decided. Let Anu forsake the rules of planetary journeys, let Nibiru be saved. From Anu's palace the decision to earth was beamed. It Inky delighted.
So Anu, their king, agreed, hey, you know what? We need the gold. Let's go ahead and do this.
Let Ninma my helper be, of such matters understanding she has. Thus was Inky saying. At Ninma with a longing he was gazing. Let it so be, Ninma was saying. Let it so be, Enlil did say. By Inugi was the decision to the Anunnaki in the Abzu announced. Until the being is achieved, to the toil willingly you must return, he said. There was disappointment, rebellion there was not. To the toil the Anunnaki returned. In the house of life, in the Abzu, how to fashion the being Inky to Ninma was explaining.
All right. So they're about to create the Adamu, and they're discussing what they need
to a
create
place
that
among the
Adamu.
trees, Ninma he directed a place.
And then it's funny how that being is called the Adamu, similar to what we know as Adam, right?
Of cages it was. In the cages there were odd creatures, their likes in the wild no one had seen. 4 parts of one kind they had, hind parts of another creature they possessed. Creatures of 2 kinds by their essence combined to Ninma Inky was showing. To the house of life they returned, to a clean place with brightness shining they led her.
So this house of life, right, is basically like a lab where they're doing all kinds of genetic experiments and combining different genealogies to see what they can create.
In the clean place, Ningazita to Ninma the life essence secrets was explaining. How the essence from 2 kinds combined can be, he to her was showing. The creatures in the tree cages are too odd, monstrous they are, Ninma was saying. Indeed so, Inky responded. To attain perfection, for that you are needed. How the essences to combine, how much of this, how much of that to put together. In which womb conception to begin, in which womb should the birth be given? For that your succor and healing understanding are needed. The understanding of one who gave birth, who a mother is required. A smile on the face of Ninma was, the 2 daughters that by Inky she mothered she well remembered. With Ningazita she surveyed the sacred formulas that on Mies were secreted. How this and that were done of him she required. The creatures in the tree cages she examined, the 2-legged creatures she contemplated. By a male inseminating a female are the essences transmitted. The 2 entwined strands separate and combine an offspring to fashion. Let a male Anunnaki a 2-legged female impregnate, let a combination offspring be born, thus did Ninma say. That we have tried, with failures it resulted, to her Inky responded. There was no conceiving, there was no birth. Now this is the account of how the primitive worker was created, how Inky and Ninma, with Ningazita assisting, the being fashioned. Another way the admixture of essences to attain must be tried, Ninma was saying. How the 2 strands of essences to combine another way must be found. That which from the earth is in the portion must not be harmed. To receive our essence in graduations it must be shaped. From the me formulas of Nibiru's essence only bit by bit could be attempted. In a crystal vessel, Nimma an admixture was preparing. The oval of a female two-legged she gently placed. With me, Anunnaki seed containing, she the oval impregnated. That oval back into the womb of the two-legged female she inserted. This time there was conceiving. A birth was indeed forthcoming.
And this is an account of artificial insemination, right?
The allotted time for birth-giving the leaders awaited. With anxious hearts they results were seeking. The allotted time arrived. There was no birth-giving. In desperation, Nimma a cutting made. That which was conceived with tongs she drew out. A living being it was. With glee Inky shouted. We attained, Ningazita with joy cried out. In her hands Nimma the newborn held. With joy she was not filled. Shaggy with hair all over was the newborn. His foreparts like of the earth creatures were. His hind parts to those of the Anunnaki more akin they were. They let the two-legged female the newborn nurse, with her milk him to suckle. Fast was the newborn growing. What on Nibiru a day was, a month in the Abzu was. Taller the earth child grew. In the image of the Anunnaki he was not. His hands for tools were not suited. His speech only grunting sounds was. We must try once more, Nimba was saying. The admixture needs adjusting.
And this is the account of the first attempt of making Adam.
Let me, the me,
or the Adamu as they call it,
to say, with this or that me make the endeavor. With Inky and Ningazita assisting, they repeated the procedures. The essences in the me's Nima carefully considered. One bit she took from one bit she took out from another. Then, in the crystal bowl, the oval of an earth female she inseminated. There was conception. At the appropriate time there was birth-giving. This one more in the likeness of the Anunnaki was. They let his birth mother him suckle. They let the newborn to a child grow. Appealing he was by his looks. His hands to hold tools were shapen. His senses they tested. They found there deficient. The earth child could not hear. His eyesight was faltered. Again and again, Nimma rearranged the admixtures of the me formulas. She took bits and pieces. One being had paralyzed feet. Another, his semen was dripping. One had trembling hands. A malfunctioning liver had another. One had hands too short to reach the mouth. One had lungs for breathing unsuited. Inky by the results was disappointed. A primitive worker is not attained to Mimma, he was saying.
So all these failed experiments creating all kind of deficient beings. I wonder what they did with those beings though. The one with semen dripping and the one with hands too short to reach its mouth. I wonder what they did with it.
What is good or is bad in this being by trials I am discovering, Ninma to Inky responded. To continue for success my heart prompts me. Once more an admixture she made. Once more the newborn was deficient. Perchance the shortfall is not in the admixture, Inky to her was saying. Perchance neither in the female's oval nor in the essences is the hindrance. Of what the earth itself is fashioned, perchance that is what is missing. Not of Nibiru's crystals use the vessel, of the clay of earth make it. So was Inky with great wisdom possessed to Nimba's saying.
So basically where they're going to do the operations in for the artificial insemination, he's saying, yo, look, instead of making it out of crystals from Nibiru, let's try making it out of clay from earth and see how that changes things.
Perchance what is earth's own admixture of gold and copper is required. Thus was Inky, he who knows things, prompting her to use clay of the Abzu. In the house of life, Nimma made a vessel. Of the Abzu's clay she made it. As a purifying bath, she shaped the vessel, within it to make the admixture. Gently into the clay vessel, the oval of an earth female, the two-legged she put, the life essence from an Anunnaki's blood extracted she in the vessel placed. By the me formulas was the essence directed. Bit by correct bit was it in the vessel added. Then the oval thus fertilized into the womb of the earth female she inserted. There is conception, Nimmo with joy announced. The allotted birth-giving time they awaited. At the allotted time the earth female began to travail. A child, a newborn was forthcoming. With her hands Nimma the newborn extracted. A male it was. In her hands she held the child. His image she examined. It was the image of perfection. In her hands she held up the newborn. Inky and Ningazita were present. With joyful laughter the three leaders were seized. Inky and Ningazita were backslapping. Nimma Inky embraced and kissed. "Your hands have made it," Inky with a gleaming eye to her was saying. They let the birth-giving mother the newborn suckle. Quicker than a child on Nibiru grows he was growing. From month to month the newborn progressed. From a baby to a child he was becoming. His limbs for the task were suited. Speech he knew not. Of speaking he had no understanding. Grunts and snorts were his utterings. Inky, the matter was pondering. What was done each step an admixture he considered. Of all that we had tried and changed, one thing was never altered to Nimma, he was saying. Into the womb of the earth female the fertilized oval was always inserted. Perchance this is the remaining obstruction, thus was Inky saying. Nimma at Inky gazed. With bewilderment she him beheld. What, in truth, are you saying? Of him she an answer required. Of the birth-giving womb am I speaking, to her Inky was responding.
So he's saying, yo, look, instead of implanting the fertilized egg into the earth female, why not, try implanting it into one of the Anunnaki females and see how that works?
Of who the fertilized oval nurtures to birth-giving carries, in our image and after our likeness to be, perchance an Anunnaki womb is required. In the house of life there was silence. Words never before heard Inky was uttering. They gazed at each other about what in each other's mind they were thinking. Wise are your words, my brother, Nimma at long last was saying. Perchance the right admixture in the wrong womb was inserted. Now where is the female among the Anunnaki her womb to offer? Perchance the perfect primitive worker to create, perchance a monster in her belly to carry. So was Nimba with a trembling voice saying.
So she like, who's gonna do this? Because it's either gonna be a monster or the perfect earth child, or primitive worker as they call it.
Let me of Ninky my spouse of that inquire, Inky was saying. Let us her to the house of life summon, the matter before her lay out. He was turning to depart when Nimma put her hand on his shoulder. No, no, to Inky she was saying. The admixtures by me were made. Reward and endangerment should be mine. I shall be the one the Anunnaki womb to provide, for good or evil fate to face. Inky bowed his head. Gently he embraced her. So be it, to her he said. In the clay vessel the admixture they made, the oval of an earth female with Anunnaki male essence they put together. The fertilized egg into the womb of Ninma by Inky was inserted. There was conception. The pregnancy by an admixture conceived. How long will it last? To each other they wondered. Will it be 9 months of Nibiru? Will it be 9 months of earth? Longer than on earth, quicker than on Nibiru, travail came. To a male child Nimma birth was giving. Inky, the boy child, held in his hands the image of perfection he was. He slapped the newborn on his hind parts. The newborn uttered proper sounds. He handed the newborn to Nimma. She held him up in her hands. My hands have made it, victoriously she shouted. Now this is the account of how Adamu by name was called.
Adamu sounds like Adam, right? Yo, I mean, this is the account of how Adam was created, bro. You know what I mean? Adam was created by the Anunnaki, not by the creator of all. And this is something we all have to be aware of. So the story we have in the Bible about, come let us make man in our own image and in our own likeness. This is more of a detailed version of the same story.
And how Tiamat, as a counterpart female for him, was fashioned. The newborn's visage and limbs the leaders carefully examined. Of good shape were his ears, his eyes were not clogged, his limbs were proper, hind parts like legs, fore parts like hands were shaped. Shaggy like the wild ones he was not,
Right.
Dark black his head hair was.
Okay.
Smooth was his skin, smooth as the Anunnaki skin it was. Like dark red blood was its color, like the clay of the Abzu was its hue.
Like the clay of the Absu was its hue. What color is that? Like the clay of the Absu, right?
They looked at his malehood. Odd was it shaped, by his skin was its forepart surrounded. Unlike that of the Anunnaki malehood it was, a skin from its forepart was hanging. Let the earthling from us Anunnaki by this foreskin be distinguished, so was Enki saying.
So, if I'm deciphering this correctly, the Anunnaki, their malehood is not covered by skin, apparently. And it does not protrude from their body the way ours does. That's what it's saying, right? Unlike that of the Anunnaki malehood, it was a skin from its forepart was hanging. So he's saying, yo, let's use that to mark the earth beings separate than the Anunnaki.
The newborn to cry was beginning. To her chest Ninmah closely drew him. Her breast to him she gave, the breast he began to suckle. Perfection we did attain, Ningazita with elation was saying. Enki at his sister was gazing, a mother and son, not Ninmah and a being he was seeing. A name will you give him? Enki required. A being he is, not a creature. Ninmah cast her hand upon the newborn's body. With her fingers his dark red skin she caressed. Adamu I shall call him, Ninmah was saying. One who like earth's clay is, that will be his name. For the newborn Adamu a crib they fashioned, in a corner of the house of life they placed him. A model for primitive workers we have indeed attained, Enki was saying. Now a host of workers like him are needed, Ningazita his elders reminded. A model indeed he shall be, as for himself like a firstling he shall be treated. From toil he himself shall be protected, his essence alone as a mold shall be. So was Enki saying, by his decree Ninmah was greatly pleased.
So Enki is saying, hey, look, this is the first sample. You can't have him doing the back-breaking work or anything. All we gonna need is his DNA so we can fashion more like him.
Whose wombs henceforth the fertilized ovals shall carry, Ningazita was asking. The leaders the matter pondered, Ninmah a solution offered. From her city, Shurabak, Ninmah female healers summoned. The task required to them she explained. To the crib of Adamu she led them, the newborn earthling to perceive. To perform the task is not a commandment, Ninmah to them was saying. Your own wish is the decision. Of the female Anunnaki assembled, 7 stepped forward, 7 the task accepted. Let their names for all time be remembered, Ninmah to Enki was saying. Their task is heroic. By them a race of primitive workers shall come into being. The 7 stepped forward, each one her name was announcing. The names Ningazita recorded. Nin Ima, Zuziana, Nin Mata, Nin Bera, Nin Mug, Musardu, and Nin Gunna. These were the names of the 7 who by their own wish birth mothers were to be. Earthlings in their wombs to conceive and bear, primitive workers to create. In 7 vessels of the clay of the Abzu made, Ninmah ovals of the 2-legged females placed. The life essence of Adamu she extracted, bit by bit in the vessels she it inserted. Then in the male part of Adamu an incision she made, a drop of blood to let out. Let this a sign of life be, that flesh and soul have combined, let it forever proclaim. She squeezed the male part for blood, 1 drop of blood in each vessel to the admixture she added. In the clay's admixture, earthling with the Anunnaki shall be bound. Thus was Ninmah saying, an incantation she was pronouncing. To a unity shall the 2 essences, one of heaven, one of earth, together be brought. That which is of earth, and that which is from Nibiru by a blood kinship shall be bonded. So was Ninmah pronouncing. Her words Ningazita also recorded. In the wombs of the birth-giving heroines the fertilized ovals were inserted. Their T's conception with anticipation was the allotted time counted. At the allotted time, birth givings were occurring. At the allotted time, 7 male earthlings were born. Their features were proper. Good sounds they were uttering. By the heroines they were suckled. 7 primitive workers have been created, Ningazita was saying. Let the procedure be repeated, 7 more the toil to undertake. My son, to him Inky was saying, not even 7 by 7 sufficient shall be. Of heroine healers too much is required, forever their task this way shall be. Indeed, the task is too demanding, glow beyond enduring it is, Nimma to their said. Female ones we have to fashion, Inky was saying, for male counterparts to be. Let them know each other, as one flesh the two to become. Let them by themselves procreate, on their own the child birthing make. To primitive workers by themselves give birth, Anunnaki females to relieve. The me formulas you must change, from male to female adjustment make. So did Inky to Ningazita say. For a counterpart to Adamu to be fashioned, in the womb of an Anunnaki female conception is needed. So did Ningazita to his father Inky, in responding saying, Let me this time Ninki my spouse summon, with strong voice he said. If she is willing, let her the mold for the female earthling create. They to the Abzu, to the house of life, Ninki summoned. They showed her Adamu all that matters to her, they explained. Of the task that is required, they gave explanations. Of success and danger to her an account gave. By the task, Ninki was fascinated. Let it be done, she to them said. By the me formulas, Ningazita adjusting made. By the admixture was an oval fertilized. Into the womb of his spouse Inky it inserted. With much care he did it. There was conception. In the allotted time Ninki was in travail. A birth there was not. Ninki the months counted. Nimma the months counted. The 10th month, a month of evil fates they began to call. Ninma, the lady whose hand wombs has opened, with a cutter an incision made. Her head was covered, on her hands protections she wore. With dexterity the opening she made, her face at once was brightened. That which in the womb was from the womb came forth. A female birth was given to Ninki, with joy she shouted.
So the female, or the Eve, basically was a C-section.
The newborn's visage and limbs they carefully examined. Of good shape were her ears, her eyes were not clogged, her limbs were proper, hind parts like legs, fore parts like hands were shaped. Shaggy she was not, like beach sands was the hue of her head hair. Her skin smooth was, as that of the Anunnaki in smoothness and color it was. Ninma the girl held in her hands, she slapped her hind parts. Proper sounds the newborn uttered. To Ninki, the spouse of Inky, she the newborn handed, to be suckled, nourished, and raised. A name will you give her? Inky of his spouse inquired. A being she is, not a creature. In your image she is, and after your likeness. Perfectly she is fashioned, a model for female workers you have attained. Ninki cast her hand upon the newborn's body. With her fingers her skin she caressed. Tiamat, let her name be, the mother of life, Ninki was saying. Like the planet of old, of which the earth and the moon were fashioned, let her be called. From her womb's life essences other birth givers shall be molded. To a multitude of primitive workers she thereby life will be giving. Thus was Ninki saying, the others' words of concurring uttered.
So what we've learned, basically, the Anunnaki, namely Enki and Ningizida and all them, came together, took up some form of hominid being on Earth, which was very hairy, by the way, and used its 4 legs as arms. They altered the DNA, added some of their DNA to it and all that shit, and created what we know as modern man, which has a hairless skin, 4 legs as hands, hind parts as feet. We're now in the image of the Anunnaki, right? And they're created as primitive workers to take over from the Anunnaki that were basically slaving away in the Absu in the gold mines and complaining that it's too much of a back-breaking work. And all this was done where? In the Eden, guys. In the Eden.
Now this is the account of Adamu and Tiamat in the Eden, and how they, knowing of procreation, were given and to the Absu expelled.
Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, right? The Adamu and Tiamat in the Eden, and how they knowing of procreation were given, how they knowing of procreation were given, and to the Absu expelled. Okay, same creation story. Adam and Eve, they had sex, God find out and kick them out of the garden, right? Let's follow.
After Tiamat in the womb of Ninki was fashioned, in 7 vessels of the clay of the Absu made Ninmah ovals of the 2-legged females placed. The life essence of Tiamat she extracted, bit by bit in the vessels she it inserted. In the vessels of the clay of the Absu made, Ninmah the admixture formed, incantations as the procedure befits she was uttering. In the wombs of the birth-giving heroines the fertilized ovals were inserted. There was conception. At the allotted time birth-giving were occurring. At the allotted time 7 female earthlings were born. Their features were proper, good sounds they were uttering. Thus were 7 female counterparts for the primitive workers created. 7 male and 7 female did the 4 leaders create them. After the earthlings were thus created, let the males the females inseminate. Let the primitive workers by themselves offspring beget. So was Enki to the others, saying, after the allotted time, offsprings, other offspring will beget.
So he's saying, let them be fruitful and multiply. Why is this so awfully similar to the biblical account of the same story? The only difference is this is way more detailed and gives you the names of the beings doing all this shit, instead of saying, oh, God did it.
Plentiful will be the primitive workers' numbers, the toil of the Anunnaki they shall hear. Enki and Ninki, Ninmah and Ningazita were joyful, the fruit's elixir they were drinking. For the semen and 7 cages they made, among the trees they placed them. Let them together grow up, malehoods and femalehoods attain. Let the males the females inseminate, let them by themselves offspring beget. So were they to each other saying, as for Adamu and Tiamat, from the toil of the excavations they shall be protected. Let us them to the Eden being over, to the Anunnaki therein our handiwork display. So was Enki to the others saying, with that the others did concur. To Eridu, in the Eden, the city of Enki, Adamu and Tiamat were taken. An abode and an enclosure for them was built, to roam therein they could. The Anunnaki of the Eden came to see them. From the landing place they came. Enlil came to see them. By the sight his displeasure was diminished. Ninurta came to see them. Enlil did as well. From the way station on the Mu, Marduk, the son of Enki, also came down to see. It was a sight most astounding, a wonder of wonders it was to behold. Your hands have made it, the Anunnaki to the fashioners were saying. The Agigi, who between earth and Lamu shuttled, were also all agog. Primitive workers have been fashioned, our days of toil to end, so were they all saying. In the Abzu the newborns were growing, for their maturing the Anunnaki were anticipating. Enki was the supervisor, Ninmah and Ningazita also came. In the excavations the Anunnaki were grumbling, patience to impatience gave way. Inugi, their overseer of Enki, was often inquiring. For primitive workers the outcry he conveyed. The circuits of earth grew in number, maturity of the earthlings was overdue. No conceiving among the females was observed, there was no birth giving. By the cages among the trees Ningazita a couch of grass for himself made. Day and night the earthlings he was watching, their doings to ascertain. Indeed, he saw them mating, the males the females were inseminating. Conceiving there was not, birth-giving there was not. Inky the matter deeply pondered, the creatures once combined he contemplated. None, not one of them, had offspring begotten. By two kinds combined, a curse had been created, Inky to the others said. Let us, the essences of Adamu and Tiamat, afresh examine, Ningazita was saying. Their me's, bit by bit, to be studied, what is wrong to ascertain. In Shurabak, in the House of Healing, the essences of Adamu and Tiamat were contemplated. With the essence of Anunnaki males and females they were compared. Like two entwined serpents, Ningazita, the essences separated. Arranged like 22 branches on a tree of life were the essences. Their bits were comparable. The images and likenesses they properly determined. 22 they were in number, the ability to procreate they did not include. Another two bits of the essence in the Anunnaki present Ningazita to the others showed. One male, one female, without them there was no procreating, so was he to them explaining. In the molds of Adamu and Tiamat, in the combining, they were not included. Ninmah heard this and was distraught, with frustration was Inky seized. The clamor in the Abzu is great, mutiny is again in the making, so was Inky to them saying. Primitive workers must be procured lest the gold extracting shall be ceasing. Ningazita in these matters learned, a solution was proposing. To his elders Inky and Ninmah in the House of Healing he whispered. They all, the heroines who Ninmah were assisting, sent away. They locked the door behind them, the three, with the two earthlings alone remaining. Upon the four others Ningazita a deep sleep caused to descend. The four he made unfeeling. From the rib of Inky the life essence he extracted. In the rib of Adamu the life essence of Inky he inserted. From the rib of Ninmah the life essence he extracted. Into the rib of Tiamat the life essence he inserted. Where the incisions were made, the flesh thereon he closed up.
So, am I the only one seeing the similarities here? I mean, think about it. The biblical account states that God took Adam's rib to make Eve. Now, this is giving you a detailed explanation of how the genetic mutation was actually done from the rib of Enki to the rib of Adamu, and from the rib of Ninmah. From the rib of Ninmah to the rib of Tiamat. So why is there another story of ribs here? You know what I mean? I sincerely believe that what we have in the Bible, the biblical account, is a highly shortened version of this account. So if you continue, we'll see that, the biblical stories are all over this.
Were awakened. It is done, he proudly declared. To their tree of life 2 branches have been added. With procreating power their life essences are now entwined. Let them freely roam, as one flesh let thorn knots each other, Ninmah was saying. In the Eden's orchards, to freely roam Adamu and Tiamat were placed. Of their nakedness they became aware. Of malehood and femalehood they were knowing.
Why does this sound familiar? Why does it sound familiar? Now, after the intervention, if we follow the science here, basically their genomes were missing that part of the sequence that would allow them to procreate. Right? After taking them back to the lab and adjusting their DNA and making provision for them to now be able to procreate, now they're aware of their nakedness, and now they're in the Eden, aware of their nakedness and shit.
Tiamat of leaves, aprons made, from the wild beast to be distinguished. In the heat of the day, Enlil in the orchard was strolling, the shade he was enjoying. Without expectation, Adamu and Tiamat he encountered. The aprons on their loins he had noticed.
Same story, right? Where God is walking through the Garden of Eden and happened upon Adam and Eve and noticed that they're now wrapped in twigs.
What is the meaning of this, Enlil wondered. Inky for explaining he summoned. The matter of procreation, Inky to Enlil explained. The 7 and 7 had failed to Enlil, he admitted. Ningazita, the life essence, examined an additional combining was needed. Great was Enlil's anger. Furious his words were. The whole thing was not to my liking. For acting as creators I had opposed. The being that we need, it already exists, so were you, Inky, saying. All we need is put our mark on it, thereby primitive workers to fashion. Healing heroines themselves put at risk, Ninma and Ninki were endangered. To no avail it was all, your handiwork was a failure. Now the last bits of our life essence to these creatures you have given. To be like us in procreation knowing, perchance our life cycles on them to bestow. Thus did Enlil with angry words speak.
Don't sound familiar, right? Sound familiar, right? In the biblical account, what does it say? Y'all know the biblical account, right? Sound familiar.
Inky, Ninma, and Ningazita summoned with words Enlil to pacify. My lord Enlil, Ningazita was saying, knowing for procreation they were given, the branch of long living to their essence tree was not. Ninma then spoke up. To her brother Enlil she was saying, what was the choice, my brother? To end it all in failure, Nibiru in doom to face its fate? Or to try, and try, and try, and by procreation let earthlings the toil undertake? Then let them be where they are needed, Enlil with anger said. To the Abzu, away from the Eden, let them be expelled.
Sound familiar, right? And let me go back. To the Absu, away from the Eden, let them be expelled. Sounds familiar, right? Adam and Eve getting expelled from the Garden of Eden.
To the Abzu, away from the Eden, let them be expelled.
So, today guys, we went through 3 of the tablets thus far. We went from chapter 3, 4, 5. Oh, and now chapter 6. We went through 4. Wanted to do chapter 7 today, but I don't know. It's 7 p.m. where I'm at. It's probably around 11 p.m. Eastern at the moment. So guys, we're gonna stop it here for today. Let me say thanks for all the support, and see you guys either tomorrow or next week. Again guys, thanks for the support. Find me on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Facebook, because this is where we'll be publishing all the information I find from my researches. Rasta Ren Reads is where we will be deep diving into the dark depths of the truth of the information we've been fed over the years. Starting with religion, because let me just say this. Religion is the biggest psychological operation in our day and age. Let me straighten this and say it again. Religion is the biggest psychological operation in our day and age. When we finish going through the last book of Enki, what we'll find is that religion was started by one individual who thought that he was supposed to inherit the earth. And because his father did not give him inheritance for the earth, he went and started religion as a coup against the powers that be at the time. Okay? He built the Tower of Babel. We know the story about the Tower of Babel. He built the Tower of Babel as basically a fuck you to the powers that be at the time. You know what I mean? So tomorrow, hopefully we get on tomorrow. I'm doing my best to make some time to get on tomorrow at approximately 6 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna try and finish up the other 8 tablets in this entire series. So I'll be doing a lot less commenting tomorrow. And then In the comments, guys, let me know what is the next book you guys want us to read through. If I can get the audio version, that would be excellent. If not, I would either try to make an audio version or we just read it the old-fashioned way right here on the live stream. Again, thanks for the viewership, thanks for the comments, thanks for the shares, thanks for the likes, thanks for the follows, thanks for the subs. Your boy Rasta Ren